Uh, Good evening, members of Spiritual Encrypted Encounters. For those who tune in to Restream, YouTube, Facebook, and for those to that view my showreel TikToks under HCS 895. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to Werewolf Wednesday. Uh, we started the light back up. We're having technical difficulties. Hopefully, it's corrected. Let me send this link to my cousin Jesse real quick. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody is doing great. How you doing, Roddy Baum? How you doing tonight? I hope you're doing great. How you doing, Sister Madeline Chap? There we go. We got it going on. There was a lot of crazy stuff happening tonight, so I'm just working through it. You know, nothing that I'm going to bring up here, but dealing with I don't know, just with Facebook. It was acting weird tonight. Uh, you seen we couldn't even hook up to the stream, but we got it going on now. There we go. Now I can see the comments. And I've been bunk only a little bit off the video. I haven't really looked into it. I've been feeling kind of exhausted ever since I went to go out investigate. So I believe it was yesterday when I went out there. So I haven't been feeling too well. Just real tired. How you doing, Alan Palomino? Hope you're doing great, brother. Just waiting for cousin Jesse to come back on. Yeah, I don't know what was going on. I couldn't see the comments or nothing. A lot of strange activity been happening in that nature. Yeah, I can see all those comments now. There we go. We had like quite a bit of viewers, but I just couldn't look at view what they were saying on YouTube. Uh, I had to redo everything on my phone and on the computer because of Facebook. Or I guess they're getting pretty strict or something. I don't know. So I had to redo, the restart my Facebook on everything. And I guess it wasn't connecting to YouTube, or I don't know what's going on. Just a lot of strange things happening today. That's right. Werewolf Wednesday. Just waiting for cousin Jesse to join back. I already sent him a link. So I don't know. He's going to be with us only for a short period of time tonight. He's got an appointment early in the morning. But I did capture something uh, that looked out of the ordinary. There was a lot of strange things that happened during my investigation yesterday. One of them was at the very beginning where there was like a shift in time where you could see things moving like entering a portal of some sort. And there was a shift in the land, a shift in the space and time, in which I even lost a track of time. Probably lost maybe about 5 seconds, 6 seconds, where I was saying something and it didn't come out right. So you could see that when that happened, there was a shift, like a time warp of some sort. And I got the video for that to show that with y'all. Show it to y'all.
Now I see everybody. Who's here? What's on, right? What's up, Roddy Mom? How you doing?
And that
What
when
you
that
doing?
evidence from the video from last night, that's not what she was trying to show us. What she was trying to show us what the movement at the beginning of the video, in which I looked at that evidence through my phone in the morning, and yeah, you could see somebody walking. I could see somebody walking from the porch down the street. You could see somebody walking, and I think that's who was in their porch. It was somebody definitely standing on the porch that looked like a person. That was and on the video, I don't know you viewed it because I think I sent it to you. You could see somebody walking like from their house, away from their house, on the street, and then of course she wasn't expecting to see La Bruja or anything else like that. That's what we found because she was trying to show us the movement at the beginning. But the other thing was more interesting. There was violence and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a creeper video last night. For those that didn't view it last night, uh, it was a very, very crazy. I mean, it was good evidence that they captured from, I guess, a doorbell, a camera. What do you think about last night, cousin?
Man, that was a creepy video, man. There was a witch face, there was a owl face, there was a black shadow figure standing there. There was some red eyes on.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was some red eyes out there in the yard, man. It was just too much going on, man. They were feeding off all that negativity.
yeah, a lot of activity. Let me. I haven't even shared, cousin. Let me share to the groups on Facebook
All right,
real
man.
quick.
What's up, people? What's up? Again, welcome to Werewolf Wednesday. Woo! That's how long I've known Abe. It's been a wolf's age. Woo! No, hombre, bien, hace mucho. Plymouth Pudge, Wucky, how you doing? Prima Ivy, Ellen Palomino, Andres Carizales, Juan Avila, Yule Meme, Runner, been YouTubing. How y'all doing on this Werewolf Wednesday? I hope y'all are having a howling good time. This Wolfman Jack coming to you live from Channel 5.
Yeah, I remember him, Wolfman Jack.
Yeah,
He even had a cartoon back in the day.
yeah, yep. Good old DJ, man. He played 50s and 60s.
Juan Avila.
Oh, wow, that's really creepy.
Yeah, Avila runs in my family. The last name Avila. I think on my dad's side, I have cousins that are their last name is Avila.
So you don't feel threatened by it, Alan Palomino, but it's been going on for years? Wow.
It's walking every week. I hear somebody walking upstairs and stop just outside my bedroom. Oh wow!
Hello, Lawrence Morgan. Hello, JJ. What's going on? ¿Cómo estás? How you doing, Susanna, New Jersey?
New Jersey.
First time here. Well, welcome, Susan. Welcome. I
Welcome
hope
to
you
Werewolf
enjoy the
Wednesday. Show them
show.
your shirt, cousin.
Welcome to
Yes,
Werewolf Wednesdays.
let me get a close up of that shirt. There you go. Mine is just this right here.
Oh,
Can you pull your shirt down a little so you can see the face, cousin? There we go. You on the so I can see the mouth open. Yeah, look at that. Look at them fangs.
I ain't getting attacked from behind. I got a face in the back.
Mine has just got one of those patches like back in the day you just put on with iron. It's got an image of this werewolf in the moonlight.
How you doing, Big and Sexy? Washington D.C.'s in the house in Bedford, Maryland. Thank you, Plymouth. Thank you.
Thank you, Plymouth.
Since it is
I know there's a
Werewolf
lot of new folks
Wednesday,
here, and they probably haven't heard your story, cousin. I see a lot of new folks here.
we are members of the Fellowship of the Wolf.
Nah, just
Uh,
we're wearing the merchandise for today for Werewolf Wednesday.
hello, no Knobs. How you doing, man? Book
We
good.
got
How
a
you doing?
we got a guest here. We got the mascot Rebel
There's
coming for a
Rebel.
treat. There you go.
Well, look how polite he is, man. Yes, KJ.
Every
Everything,
time I do a live, he knows when to hit me up. Every time I do a
everything.
live, he comes and hits me up for a treat.
Everything we're wearing is spiritual encrypted encounters merchandise, yo, you guys. If you might see something you like, contact Abe CS, contact Sergeant CS, contact Count CS. One of them three people might help you out. Well, hey guys, my story is back in excuse me, back in 2018, I was working in Mississippi, Paris, Mississippi, is to be exact. And I was working the night shift. It was around 3 in the morning, and I was standing on top of a cotton feeder. I happened to turn to my right side, and I saw what I thought was a figment of my imagination. So I did a double take, and then I saw the biggest werewolf I've ever seen. It was brown in color. It had a wide body, big, long arms, and it was going through the property like it owned the place. I saw it. It was hiding in between the. And I always have a hard time remembering what they call those.
The modules.
The modules of cotton that had already been processed, and they were wrapped up and ready to be shipped. And they were taking them from where it was and loading them on trailers. I jumped off my Peter, pushed the button to stop the chains from moving, and I ran inside the gym. Told the head janitor what I saw, and they stopped the gym. They came out and they saw it as it was walking into the warehouse where they stored the seed storage warehouse. They came back out and everybody saw it. They had to chase it down because they had living quarters there on the property, and they had children there that were left unsupervised because their parents were working the night shift, and they jumped in some pickups and they were chasing it, and it was like doing what I call an after image, because you would see it one place and then it appeared in another, so kind of like teleporting while it was running, and we saw it run.
Phasing in and out.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. And we saw it cross the freeway. I mean, not the freeway, but the highway into a field of cotton. So there's two pickups chasing it, and here I am like an idiot running around with just a a box cutter of all things in my hand. And as I'm running through the darkest part of the yard, all my spiritual senses went off, and I stopped and looked to my right, and I saw it there, um, standing by a cotton module that hadn't been processed. And it was not the ones that were wrapped in plastic. It was the ones that have a tarp put over it that are like.
Somebody says, "Did you approach it?" And somebody says, "Was the creature tall?"
Well, I'm going to answer those questions here in this next couple of sentences. The the original modules that are not wrapped in plastic are anywhere from 8 to 9, maybe 10 feet tall. Once they're processed and they've got the tarp on top, and this thing was taller than the module. So I'm thinking it was anywhere from 12 to maybe 14, 15 feet tall. It was brown in color. It had red eyes, and we locked eyes. And I started walking toward it. And as I'm walking toward it, it starts kind of like phasing, or I say melting into the ground, because it started coming down to my level. And when I was like 5 or 6 feet away from it, it blinked. There was a puff of smoke, and then it smelled like rotten eggs, man. How you doing, spiritual
Bro,
Pippin?
on what time frame?
It was 3 in the morning, man, when I saw it. By the
Yeah.
time everybody was chasing it, and the time that I came about it by myself, had to be about 3:30, almost 4 o'clock in the morning.
So if it was 3 in the morning, when you seen it at first, you probably thought it was your eyes playing tricks on you
And I did a double take because I said, "What the hell?"
because it's late, you're tired, and working
But
the night shift.
then again, I wasn't the only one that saw it because, like I said, there was two pickups full of people that were chasing it. Everybody that was working that night saw that thing, man,
So
and they stopped
they
the
closed
whole.
the plant.
Yeah, they stopped the plant because once the feeder stops, the rest of the gin has to turn off because it'll burn up. The feeder is what gets all the cotton into the building by suction. It's like a giant vacuum. It's got these blades that turn around and cut up the cotton, and it sucks it up and sends it by pipes inside where they separate the cotton seed from the cotton. So once the feeder stops, man, you have to stop the rest of the gin, otherwise you'll mess up the whole gin.
So how tall from where you when you seen it, where it was standing at? How tall would you think that would be?
Well, because I was up high, man, I was on the catwalk. They call it the catwalk because it's the side of the feeder where the guy usually has a catwalk on each side where the guy that works on each side has to run back and forth to do the make sure that nothing gets stuck like the tarp or the plastic. Make sure that the cotton is spread evenly so that it doesn't clog up the machine. So you have a catwalk where you run back and forth all night, making sure that everything's running right. Um, so yeah, I was up, I think maybe 7 to 8 feet off the ground, and when I saw it, I saw it was like shoulder high to where my feet were, and it was like I said, it was running in between all the bundles of cotton that was already packed for processing,
The
and
packs.
yeah, and those are pretty tall, man. Those are like 8 or 9 feet tall because they stand them sideways. They stand them end to end. So yeah, they were it was pretty big, man. It was pretty big. But yeah, like I said, it was standing right by that cotton module, man. When I ran by there, and my all my senses acted up. Uh, by the chi I was circulating, I knew exactly where it was, man. I turned to my right. It was standing right there by that big old module. It had a tarp over it, and it stood higher than the module itself, man. Because if you stand next to a module, man, you can't reach the top with your hand, man. When you put the tarp, you have to jump into the module maker itself and spread the tarp all the way down. And then as you're taking it out with the tractor, you go pulling it down and sticking your stakes and your bungee cords into it to make sure that the tarp doesn't fly away. So yeah, man, it was tall.
What color was it?
It was brown. You remember that video game called Altered Beast? That first werewolf you turn into, kind of like brown, kind of like a reddish brown. That's what it looked like. It had some real big legs, man. That were like facing backward, and they were like curved, like this. like that, and then like this way,
Inward,
and
curve
yeah,
inward.
and then it was
Uh,
like this, dude. It was like really wide and muscular, man. Uh-oh, round two, finish him. So yeah, that's my werewolf story, guys. Not to mention that I saw a female werewolf in the house where we were staying. Well, not in the house, but by the
that's
house.
your bro right there. Says good evening,
What's,
carnal. How you doing, primo?
what's up,
Well,
little brother? How you doing? Uh, got home from work one morning, and the house they provided was in the middle of a graveyard. And if you looked off to the far right, there was some woods. That a little creek ran in there. One morning when I came from home from work, I saw a female werewolf standing there. It was gray in color, and that one followed us from Mississippi all the way to Texarkana, where we lost it in a rainstorm. It kept up
somebody
with
said,
us.
had there been a history of the beast in that area?
I don't know because it was the first year that I ever went over there, guys. I don't know if they have been there before or not, but
So
I
that's the
saw
first
it.
time you ever, the first year you ever worked there.
Yeah, it was my first year going out there. What's up, Lalo Lies? I mean, Exuberance. And like I said, that female wolf followed us from Mississippi all the way into Texarkana, where we lost it in a rainstorm. It kept up to us going on the freeway. I mean, on the highway, we were doing 80, and it was for 200 or something miles. It followed us right there by the back door, looking into the back windows. The two guys that were in the back were not leaning or sitting anywhere near the doors. They were sitting in the middle where nobody likes to sit. How you doing, Lunar Eclipse? I'm sorry, I was backed up on my chat. Anybody I didn't say hi to, I'm sorry.
Rebel trying to hit me up, man. That's it. No more, Rebel.
So yeah, like I said, when I saw it, I'm glad I stopped and that my spiritual senses were triggered because I'm pretty sure if I hadn't seen it, it probably would have attacked me from behind since I was by myself.
So, what do you think uh, it was? I mean, because it disappeared and went down into the ground, and it smelled like sulfur, right? Like you said, rotten eggs.
Uh huh.
Do you think it was demonic in nature?
Yes, it was demonic in nature because it had red eyes,
Red eyes, red
Mm.
glowing eyes,
red glowing eyes. So I'm thinking it might have been a DDN that took the shape of that because
manifestation.
of the way it was teleporting itself while it was running. I watch a lot of Dragon Ball Z, and they call that an after image. It leaves the image behind while it runs
So
ahead.
yeah, I know how fast to move because I run into them out there when I go do my investigations. They move pretty fast, faster than the wind. Uh, they can move faster than 100 miles an hour.
Look, I just think I was pretty gutsy facing it with just a box cutter. I thought I was bad with a
I
box cutter,
mean,
man.
if that's the only thing you have as defense, I mean, you got to use what you got to use, right?
Yeah,
Because that's your instinct mode to survive. I mean,
but
some
yeah,
people would run away, but if you run away, that they're just gonna make it come after you, because that means that you're afraid of it, and they can sense
yeah,
fear.
I showed it no fear. I started approaching it. Yeah, I know, Lawrence. DBZ, man, I'm a fan, man. Like I said, that's what it looked like to me because when it started running from the trucks, you'd see it here, then it would like do like two or three little
Like
manifestations, and then it
phases.
would appear again. There's a question for you, cousin. What do you normally do in your investigations?
I just go out there, man. I don't try to. I'm not looking for footprints or anything like that when I go and investigate. Uh, it's more of a spiritual thing for me because of what I've witnessed and what I experienced myself. They're more in spirit. They're like dark shadow figures, and like dark shadow figure, which is when you see a dark, it's not really dark. It's like a spirit or smoke. They look like dark smoke. Some people might say they're elementals, right? But to me, they're the DDN, the disembodied demonic Nephilim, with what's remains of them, which were created by the Watchers, in which they do have capabilities to shapeshift.
They have angelic
Because the
capabilities.
Watchers have those capabilities, and they're offspring of the Watchers. I think that the mothers of the gave birth to them, they changed form. Which some became harpies and some became sirens. And which when they got destroyed by the flood and the angels, uh, they they have no vessel, no body, so they're in spirit form. So what they do is they roam Earth, trying to find a vessel to possess, not just to possess.
To destroy
Before they got
the
destroyed, what were they doing? They were destroying all of God's creations. So it, if they possess a vessel, then their mission is to, since they dislike mankind or dislike us, is to destroy the vessel also. So
claim it so.
somebody says, I would like to see a DM, but only in a good, genuine photo.
Yeah, Lunar. That's the only way I want to see a rattlesnake, brother. On Mutual of Omaha. On TV, man. That's the closest I want to see a rattlesnake, man.
I got footage of what I'm talking about, brothers and sisters, how fast they can move. And I'm going to show it to y'all right now. They move very fast, and when they travel, they don't travel, since they're in spirit. They're many, so they travel very rapidly. But you can still see what seems to be a beastly form because they'll show themselves to you. I'm not saying that what happened to me, that I was able to see what passed through me, beside me. I did see something that passed super fast, and I said, well, maybe it's just a blur. But luckily, I was making a live, and I was able to capture what passed beside me, and it was moving at a high rate of speed.
Uh, Alan Palomino. Anything that's dark and then it feels cold around you, that's not good, man. That's demonic.
You need to get it out of your house, brother Alan.
Thank you,
I
Gilbert.
would suggest cleanse your home, do a cleansing of your house, and take authority over it, since that's your home, and tell it that it's not welcome there, that it needs to leave. He keeps on doing that thing every night. That's not good.
Just trying to
Uh,
get shock value.
it's just getting stronger and stronger. You have to take authority. Next time that when you hear it, it's walking up your stairs. Open your door. When you're hearing it walking up your stairs, open the door before it even comes to your door, and say, "Hey, you're not welcome here. I take authority over you in Jesus Christ's name. I bind and rebuke you. Leave my home. Send it away, man. Because if not, it's just going to get stronger and a stronghold over your house." What do you think about that, cousin?
I think that you're right, and every time that he hears it, if he fears any amount of fear or anything, it's just growing stronger to the point where it's gonna start misbehaving. So, like I say, anything that's dark and you feel cold when it's around you, you need to get it out of your house. You need to tie, bind, and rebuke it and send it on its way. Because no es bueno.
So I know we're talking about Werewolf Wednesdays. Any questions for cousin Jesse of his encounter of the two encounters that he had up in Mississippi? And that's crazy because one was brown and it looked demonic, and but then you had one chase you. How many miles was that, cousin?
It probably was about 200 miles, man, before we lost it in a
And it was
rainstorm.
it was raining,
It started raining in Texarkana, man.
so it followed you for 200 miles.
Yeah, doing 80. That
Was there
had a
other
lot of
was
stamina.
there other cars that seen it?
Well, it was still dark, man, because we left before it started to get dark, and it followed us all night, man. And it was running on the side of the road, not on the road, but on the side.
Like on the grass?
Yeah, it was running through the side of the grass, on the side of the highways, man.
Yeah, you got to cleanse it and get rid of it. Sh- I was doing a live one day, a spiritual live, and I got the picture. I can share it, where a dark shadow appears in my home while I'm doing a live.
Yeah,
I,
Alan, especially if you're the head of the household, you're the only one that can get rid of it.
I think I had one. It's happened to me twice where, yeah, but this one, uh, you can see it big time. Where let me see if I can find it.
It would Lunar. It would have to be somebody else drawing it because I'm 56 years old, man, and I still draw like I used to in kindergarten. I'm the king of making stick figures. I can't draw this all my life, man. But I'm telling you, if you ever played that video game called Altered Beast, that's what it looked like. That werewolf, the first one you turn into, that's what it looked like, man. That color.
Check it out, y'all. I'm gonna share that video of when I'm making a video and a dark shadow figure decides to photobomb my freaking live. Here we go. Pass me by the light.
Yes, the dude.
Here we go.
It's all your
Your
birthday.
health is staying physically active. You don't have to lift a lot of weights. You don't have to go for long runs. So long you're doing something.
Whoa.
Oh, y'all seen that, brothers and sisters? Something is pissed off. So they like. I know y'all seen that. I just seen like a dark shadow figure pass right in front of me, and it went past me by the light. Let's look at a slow motion. Slow mo.
Whoa. Hey man, you should share, Primo. You should share the one that happened the other night where everything went dark.
Yeah, yeah. But I just want them to see how fast it's moving. It's huge, and it just passed right through me and in front of me. All right. Yeah, I'll share the one from what
Couple of
happened
nights
to
ago.
me. Uh, yeah. Let me. I need to get to it though. Can you still see them?
No, I'm seeing me and you right now.
Okay. Let me go back to it. It's just the one here off of YouTube. You can't see it well. So let me share the. I'm gonna send a video to my messenger so see it from there because through YouTube you can really it's too close.
How was your day, little brother? When are you coming back, man? Yeah, the dude, I was just sharing my experience when I saw what you call a dog, man. I call it werewolf. Saw a couple of werewolves in Faro, Mississippi, back in 2018. Saw two werewolves and a ghost girl that used to come out of the closet in my room where we stayed in the middle of a graveyard in a big house. But that's a story for a different day. Next weekend, Vato, your Ruka came over today, ese. Her and your chavalon. So
All right,
they're
I'm gonna
no.
show the video through. Let me go find it.
Oh, so you're gonna go turn into a Seahawks fan, little brother?
Let me catch up to the comments real quick.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, I have another one that happened to me 2 nights ago. Or was it, yeah, 2 nights ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna share that one, and it happened here while I was doing my live in this chair. And I'm fixing to share it with y'all, brothers and sisters. Here in Central Texas, the shadow figures they're around. I was in the military
How you doing,
for
Kevin Murphy?
10 years. I was a tanker, and I would witness them out there and on Fort Hood when I would be training at nighttime. Even during the day, I would be seeing movement of this shadow figures during the day while I would be training offensive and defensive. I was in the Cav first Cav division. I was in a 212 Cav. Well, I was a 132 armor first, but then they changed the colors and it became 212 Cav. So I was there for about on Hood. Total of years in the military was 10 years. On Hood, I was there for about eight and a half, somewhere around there. So let me share the footage that cousin Jesse's talking about.
Man, I missed that day, man. That would have been cool as hell if I had been there. How you doing, Kevin? Welcome. No
Here,
worries, Kevin. As long as you're here.
that sometimes people get scared because the way you describe it, because you're trying to help them, you're describing what you're seeing. So then the people,
Uh,
they'll say, there ain't anything here, a tie banner because Jesus Christ's name. I seen how it got dark all of a sudden around me. So if there's anything that came inside my home while I took my dog outside, you're not welcome here. Uh, take authority over in Jesus Christ's name. Leave my home. You're not allowed here. Leave. I got surrounded by darkness because they're asleep at nighttime. That sometimes people get scared because the way you describe it, because you're trying to help them, you're describing what you're seeing. So then the people, they'll
wow.
say, there ain't anything here, a tie banner because Jesus Christ's name. I seen how it got dark all of a sudden around me. So if there's anything that came inside my home while welcome here, uh, take authority over in Jesus Christ's name. Leave my home. You're not allowed here.
How you doing, Casual Conversations with GNA? Welcome.
There you go. There you go, folks. Oh shoot, I forgot it. There we go. I took it off. There you go, folks. It was trying to engulf me with darkness.
Uh, I'm sorry about that, lady. C meth addiction is ruining your life. Uh, you must meditate inward and discover what your mind weakness is, and then turn to Christ. That's all I can tell you.
What the hell? Who's this guy? A lady C meth addiction is ruining my life.
He says the only time he sees shadow people is when he's been awake for 3 days straight smoking. Scante, palabra, güey. Órale, güey.
So is he
He might be.
a troll?
He might be.
Okay, I don't know. Let him sit here for a little bit. I mean, there's another lesson that could be spiritual opening doing the meth. You're leaving all doors open to whatever to come in.
What do you mean, Alan Palomino? What do you feel when this happens? When you get spiritually triggered, Alan, all your hairs stand up on your body. You feel weakness because it's starting to drain your energy. So that's when you know you're getting spiritually attacked. That's when you need to jump into prayer and start tie biting and rebuking in Jesus Christ's name.
I think my guest showed up here, brother. Let me send him a link so he can join us, and we could maybe he can talk about all this Werewolf Wednesday. Maybe he's got some stories uh, dealing with that.
My personal thoughts on drug addiction, Lady Cement, it's all a mental weakness. That's what it is, a mental weakness. Exactly, lunar eclipse. That's why you have to be careful when you astral project because when your spirit leaves your body, anything can take control of your body while your spirit's not in it. And if you so happen to come back to your body while it's being occupied, then you die because your spirit can't get back in your body.
How you doing, brother Jamie Johnson?
That's good shit. Quit jumping around, Gilbert.
Yeah, I have an old picture of it seems like a lycanthrope, a short reel from Elms Grove where I had my encounter. And anybody seen this What's a Haunted season 3 episode 2? Uh, Something is out there, not human. That was me on that show on this What's a Haunted. It's season 3 episode 2. Shares a little bit of my encounter of what I had in Elms Grove, but you know they took a lot of stuff out of what I shared with them, but that's okay. I mean, I do get a show reel of one on the move where
Kevin,
is looking at me. I think it says run a couple of times, and then it calls me marranito, which means little pig. I did not hear it. That happened after I debunked the video that I heard it, but I was able to capture it on camera. It's
uh,
one of those videos where the sun was setting.
Primo, Kevin Murphy wants to know if you're sending that link via Facebook.
I sent him to him on Messenger. Well, you can link on here. Here, I'll place the link right here.
Lay down, little brother. Get you some rest, bro.
There you go. There's a link for the live tonight. There he is. How you doing, brother?
I'm hanging in there, holding up for my age group. I'd like to think. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. How
All
you
right,
doing,
all
Sid
right.
Cooley? Welcome in.
Thank you, thank you. Good, great show so far. Sorry I got here a little late.
It's okay. It's
That's fine,
okay.
brother.
We're here.
Brother Kevin. Yeah, we were talking last night, and he
Yeah,
was
we
telling
were.
me some stories. Uh, but we were talking about today's Werewolf Wednesday. So we're talking about some of the encounters. Like he's talking about an encounter that he had, and I know you've had numerous encounters throughout your lifetime of a lot of things. Uh, have you ever witnessed anything of that nature, brother? Like something that you can explain that's out of the ordinary dealing with. Because I do got a story. I do got a story. Something that happened to me when I was in Germany. When I was a young buck, how you call it in the military. I can share the story, and then I'll give you the floor.
Oh no, take
Uh,
your time, man. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
we're good.
Uh,
This
I
is
got
like
a,
in yeah.
I got a question, cousin. They asked me a question. Uh, it was not running upright, Susan, and it had a tail. Yes, it did. It was a long tail. It had a snout, of course, because it was a dog. It was a werewolf. It had dog ears, of course. So I hope that answers your question. I don't know, little brother, if Primo wants you to jump on because we do have a guest. Oh, never mind. Okay, okay, Abe. I answered her questions. So
Well,
proceed.
I'll let him. Say whatever he wants to say. Today we're doing having Werewolf Wednesday, but I can share my encounter. What happened to me when I've had numerous encounters with him, but when he's dealing with a balance, I already know more or less what it is because of what I witnessed throughout my life. I've had many experiences, but I know
All
brother
right,
Kevin
the
has had
floor is
many
yours.
experiences throughout his lifetime.
I excuse me, fellas. I'm kind of new to this. This people are saying hi to me, and I don't know where to. I don't want people to think I'm being rude. Hello,
Yes,
Susan.
you
And, thank you all for greeting me here. Yeah, I fascinated with the subject, and I know to people who had direct experience, it seems a bit naive. You have it's like being an armchair quarterback, academic interest, and we have one of those things looking down your looking down into your soul. It's a whole different experience, but I have yet to have that. Although, as you correctly surmised, sir, I've definitely had a lot of encounters of a paranormal or metaphysical nature. That I really, Abe and I were talking about this last night. It's amazing the age that we're living in. I'll be 71 in October, and I've had some, as long ago as when I was in my late teens, I've had what people would describe as prescient dreams, otherworldly things that uh, when I would recite them, it was clear that there was something beyond the average. But my only point is that in the 50 years since I had the first of those many dreams, and which led me to meet a woman who was a medium, um, I never dreamed that so many of the things I read about as a child interested in mythology and archaeology related subject matter, that these things would prove in later years to be exaggerated truths, and that there was so much room for and how do you say it's just incredible that the age we're living in is that someone just opened up Pandora's box, is what I said to Abe. That we're living in an age where these things are being verified through the use of technology and people's peerless and courageous explorations. What has been called boots on the ground. Uh, I just really I was listening to somebody on one of Josh's shows. I think it was the guy that did the Montauk Chronicles, and he said, this guy is only like in his 40s, which to me seems really young right now. But anyway, he said, it's as if someone like flicked a switch. We're living in this age. This wasn't like this a few years ago, and I concur. And all the people that I speak to, uh, and I really, for me, this coterie, this group of fellas that you guys have been talking to one another, getting to know each other for years. I'm new to this. I was on the sidelines. I play music for a living, and I'm probably making more money as a writer than the music, because the internet seems to marginalize live music as we used to define it, certainly at the club level. But be that as it may, I've been kind of in a narrow, area, and a lot of things that you guys are taking for granted, I'm only just stumbling onto in recent years. Although I have my own paranormal experiences, defined. Anyone would define them as such, going back a long time. But when you start talking about, werewolves, and dogmen, I think for one thing, it's clear that the use and misuse of ritual magic is off the hook. Both acolytes and neophytes. I mean, even the military. I've read articles, uh, many articles, and I can cite them that confirm that people from the pedestrian to military in various countries have been using magic as a means. And our government, our military is always trying to get one leg up on the enemy, so to speak. But it's just talk about be careful what you ask for. Um, I had an incredible dream I shared with Abe that was the first of what I would call these prescient dreams that started me on my officially on the metaphysical aspect of my own personal journey. But I was fascinated as a kid, as most of us are, to things like magic, without the implications that we can possibly dream of at a young age, most of us anyway. But if you wanted me to talk about that medium, Abe, I'd be more than happy to do so. I was hesitant to do so for many years because a lot of my friends are Christians, and there was such a heavy. So many of my friends uh, would share with me that it's if not forbidden, discouraged. And I think there are certain biblical quotes that talk about not to hang with mediums, more or less. But my mother was a Catholic. She was raised in an orphanage by Irish nuns from the time she was 6 years old. And my dad was he grew up in the res. He was what we used to call a half breed in those politically incorrect times. Um, and my mom's influence was a profound one. I like most of us, if we were fortunate to have a mom who taught us right from wrong and taught us about Jesus and our heavenly Father. Uh, she was very strict in that regard, um, and yet she let me explore without being too. If that makes any sense, so it was kind of a paradox. She was very firm and never missed mass. She was always exactly 5 minutes late for church every Sunday. But she let me explore, and she encouraged my studies with mythological uh, uh, things, which a lot of real strict Christians would possibly not have. Anyway, that being said, I don't know how much of this you want you get into, Abe. I had a dream when I was working, and at the time we're very racially polarized time in Maryland and Virginia when I worked for the county in Maryland. And it was so bad in the early 70s that the white boys worked in the tree division and the brothers worked in the street division. And it was like that. There were no exceptions. I was the first exception that I was aware of. And simply because of how I grew up, I was born in the city. A woman that changed my diapers when my mother's at work was African American. And I grew up in very integrated. And in DC, of course, is about 95% African American, I think, or close to it. And my experience with most of the country folk was challenging at best. A lot of rednecks. If you had long hair and a pickup truck went by you, 50-50 chance you was in a fight. And if he was running with the brothers like I was, especially when I was playing music, that much more. So that being said, I joined the street division, and it was divided into 5 and 6 man crews. And my boss was in his late 50s at the time, dark skinned black man who grew up in the deep South in Georgia. Now, this is 1973, so you can imagine what he dealt with as a young man. And he was very difficult to work with for a while. And then we worked all that out simply by me showing up for work in time and doing my part. And we became friends. And that led to one of the most incredible experiences I ever had in my life. I quit working for them after, I guess it was about 2 years, 2.5 years. But I stayed in touch with them. And since I lived in a strictly African American neighborhood, they felt comfortable visiting me after work. And one night, not long after one of my friends had visited, I had a dream that I was back at work. And there was no one there but my boss, but he was wearing a 3-piece brown suit with a vest, a pocket watch, the whole bit. And I remember thinking, where's everyone? Why is Casey the only person at work? And why is he wearing a suit? And as I thought that, he turned and looked at me, and his whole face was just shining with light. I woke up, had goosebumps everywhere. Got up out of my bed and walked outside, and it's fate would have it, a guy walking down the sidewalk was a guy also from the county. And I asked him, I said, "What are you doing out here, Mickey?" Before he could answer, I said, I just had the weirdest dream about KC. And he stopped walking and stared at me and said, "What was it?" And I told him. He said, "Oh my God." And he sat down. I said, "What's up?" He goes, "I don't know how to tell you this because I know you guys were tight." I went, "Oh, no way, man." He goes, "Yeah, I'm afraid so." I said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, he went quick. We were working on the road. He just had a heart attack, fell over. The reason I'm over here is that we're allowed to view the body today. And I just went to see him. He was buried in that three-piece brown suit you just described." So at that point, I had to sit down. Not long after that, I met a famous musician that I was influenced by and left the D.C. area, the D.C. Maryland area, and went out west. And I met a woman who was a medium. And the experience I had living with her changed my life. She was very into Jesus Christ. Um, I had never met a medium before, and my experiences were pretty much, uh, limited to academic uh, uh, encounters, so to speak. So we started dating, and after a while, I moved in there, and I shared with her the dream. And when I was done, she said, "I had a feeling about you, and tonight I'm going to show you what I am." Now, she had told me she was from a long line of mediums, the gift handed down from mother to daughter going back centuries in France. And my experience with this woman was, I mean, she exuded such a powerful energy, but in the most peaceful way. I mean, there was just something about her that was calming whenever you're around her. She had pictures of Jesus everywhere in her house, in her little apartment, rather, it wasn't a house. Um, but unlike most people that I had met, and still to this day, she also was open to other, uh, like Krishna, for instance, Buddha, but Jesus Christ was her main influence. And she had a book that she had just given me by Manly P. Hall called The Mystical Christ. Anyway, that night, she turned off all the lights in our apartment, put a towel over the one lamp, and proceeded to utter this beautiful prayer that went on for minutes. And when she stopped, you could, as I said to Abe, you could literally hear the silence. And I looked around, and there wasn't much light. Like I said, everything was turned off, but one light with a towel over it. So you could see a little bit. And what I could see looked like the way heat waves look on a summer day. That kind of. And as I continued to I felt that I felt the energy in the room shift. Although it was totally laden with what you would call serenity, a very peaceful vibe, colors of light started sweeping through the room. Now, I wasn't high in anything. I had had experience with marijuana and I had done hallucinogens, but I hadn't done anything in a long time. And I had gotten to California, I wasn't even drinking. So I look over at her, and she's sitting at a 45-degree angle from me on a couch. And if you're me, she's sitting to your left, and her face and figure were completely blacked out with like a yellow like line around it, like a chalk line on the body on the street. And I was just kind of staring at her, I think taking it in, and right in front of me, that image, so to speak, shifted and then returned to normal. But her face started to like look like it was vibrating, like the way I had noticed when I had done hallucinogens, and literally like molecularly rearranging itself. And I continued to stare at her as her face literally rearranged itself until she looked like another person, as clearly as I'm looking at you. And it held its image for about 3 or 4 seconds, and it was a female. And then that shifted, morphed, if you like, into another woman's image. And that image held itself for 3 or 4 seconds, then morphed into another. And this went on for about 15 or 20 minutes. And if you can believe it, I fell asleep. And when she woke me up, I was very confused and upset. I couldn't understand why I could fall asleep in the face of something like that. And then she just smiled and said, "Don't worry, we can do this again tomorrow night. You're being healed." And I was only 21 at the time, but I had already, as a lot of us have, been through a lot of mess by the time I was 21. But during this time, her face was literally shifting from countenance, and I mean just as vividly as, like I said, you're looking at yourself in the mirror. That very that defined. And the room, as I said, was swirling with colors of light. And I asked her, I said, what? I asked her to explain. And I guess you would call it, you call it today quantum physics, but she was basically explaining to me how everything is consciousness and energy, and matter is solidified forms of both. And I'm just like a short version of that, but I don't have much of a science background. I'm just trying to repeat what I remember her saying. And this, although the experience I've had to continue to this day, that particular event happened some 50 years ago. But you can imagine how profound that would be to watch something like that take place. So, like a child that woke up the next day and said, we could do this tonight?" And she said, "Yeah, I told you that we would." That night came, turns off all the lights, put the towel over the lamp, says this beautiful prayer, and bam, showtime. Flooded lights swirling through the room. I mean, so beautiful, indescribable, like a waterfall of lights. And her same thing. I look at her, same thing. The like what you call a negative from a picture, completely black with yellow around the head all the way down to the feet, and then that dissipates, and her image is staring back at me again, and again it shifts and starts to rearrange itself electrically. And again, I fell asleep after about 50, 20 minutes. And I asked her, and I had the presence of mind before we went to bed. I said, what? She said, well, tell me what's going on. And she said, well, what does your instinct tell you? I said, well, you invoke Christ. You invoke the Father, Heavenly Father, whenever you do this. And every night she did these prayers, though that is exactly how she began. Heavenly Father. And she would say Divine Mother, as if acknowledging a mother figure equal to the Father. Now, I'll get back to that later. But and then she would say Jesus Christ. And that's how she began every single prayer, no matter what we were doing. We were eating or whatever. So anyway, she said, what do you think is happening? I said, well, my gut. She said, what does your gut tell you? I said, my instinct is telling me that when you're in that state, you somehow are established at a vibratory frequency that draws other reciprocal spirits or people to you. But why would they all be women, and why would they all look so beautiful? Because I didn't get to that part yet. These images that I was seeing, guys, were so beautiful they didn't look human, man. I mean, it was just jaw dropping. And it wasn't limited to that either, but most of the time, 90% of the time it was. Sometimes things happen and that she called nature spirits. And when she would go into trance, the negative thing would fall away, and her face and form would be revealed again. There would be this like swirling kind of energy, and matter. It would get indistinct, and in front of me would appear images that look like gargoyles, or what people would call werewolves. And she asked me why I wasn't afraid. And I said, because of the prayer. Every time I never felt vaguely and I'm not a tough guy. I can't even handle rush hour traffic. But I mean, I just, the room was just drenched in the serenity. And if you met her, she was such a Madonna-like figure. She exuded such a warmth and such a genuine goodness that she disarmed the most hardcore cats, And I was a musician. I was around, in nightclubs and in places that, not always sanctified, if you know what I mean. But usually people go to hear a lot of music. If the musicians are really good and the vibration gets raised. But I mean, musicians, a lot of different characters, but everyone had the same reaction to her that I did, and I was understandably biased. I was dating her, living with her, So she had said that the gift, quote unquote, as she called it, had been handed down from mother to daughter for generations. Her own mother was a strict Catholic, and the gift freaked her out. She says, but Meredith says, I'm a hippie. I wanted to find out ways to cultivate it. And people came from all over the world, asked her about missing, loved ones, and the kind of things that people would do would talk to engage the medium. And man, it was just mind blowing. And I have to tell you that I had read a lot already as a kid, like so many of us do. I had read about magic, and there was a character, Aleister Crowley, who's become quite well known. And at the time I first read about it, I was just a kid. I had no idea of his influence in the world or anything. But magic, you talk about magic. She discouraged me. She said, I thought, because one time we came back, sorry, there's so much I want to say. I'm losing my continuity here. Forgive me. So much I want to say. Those images that I was just sharing with you guys. Almost 90% of the time, what I experienced was variations on that theme. But there were times when, like I said, these other things that she called nature spirits would happen. But the place became saturated. If you can imagine doing this kind of thing every night, like anything that we do, a place becomes filled with, the thoughts and emotions of the people there, whether it's in a room, a larger, any place, because thoughts and emotions are powerful. And what we give energy to, we give life to. So that being said, one night we came back from dinner and we had gone out to a place called the Captain's Anchorage in Dana Point, and we came back, and the place was so full of ectoplasm. I didn't. I thought it was smoke. I thought the place was on fire. So I went to call the fire department, and as I'm giving the fire department directions, she grabbed the phone out of my hands and she said, "This is not a prank. We're really sorry. We made a mistake. There's no fire here." And I'm looking around, and as I'm looking back, because the kitchen where the phone was, I had my back to the rest of the room. And as I turned around, I could see that the smoke, what I thought was smoke, was dissipating. She had opened the sliding door. We had where you could see the Pacific Ocean. In those days, you can believe it, we had a little flat like that for 250 a month. But this is 1976. Anyway, so I'm looking at, but when I first walked in, the place was just, we were like going through like that to get to where the kitchen was because we could see the smoke, but we couldn't see the origin of it, couldn't see any fire. And as I'm making the call, she's turning off the stove and looking around. And so she ascertained very quickly there wasn't any fire at all and took the phone from my hand and convinced the fire department that we weren't idiot pranksters or anything like that. And then hung up the phone and started laughing. And I said, I got a great sense of humor. I mean, tell me so we both know. And she said, it's ectoplasm. I said, what? She said, listen, you've been telling me how much you've been reading about it. I said, well, I read the term, but I've never seen it. She said, we've been doing this every night for quite some time now. And at that point, it was weeks, maybe even over a month. I can't remember to be precise. But she said, ectoplasm is the manifestation of spirit. And it usually comes off of mediums' fingertips or out of their mouth, sometimes the top of their head. And I didn't know that. How would I know that? She said, and she started laughing. She said, I'm just amazed that it hasn't happened sooner. I said, well, I never saw any of that with you. I never saw it come off of your fingertips. She goes, well, it doesn't matter. But now we know now you know what it is. So, you know, I don't remember what we did the rest of that night, but I know what we did the next night. And at one point, after what had been at least a couple of months of this, I know you probably have a hard time imagining this, but I came to California in deep need of spiritual source. I had studied kung fu. I had approached meditation. My mother was deeply religious and very spiritual in her own way. And I have a great story about her where it talks about fairies. If you want me to share later. Anyway, she was open enough to encourage my interest from an academic perspective. But she wanted me to be, as she put it, a good Irish Catholic boy. And my dad was not in the picture at all. He lived on the res and pretty much drank himself to death before he was, I think it was 42 when he passed. Anyway, so I was, in need at that time. I was going through a crisis of my own, and I had studied meditation, but I hadn't gotten particularly good at it. But I needed a spiritual anchor, and what my mother was sharing with me from the Catholic upbringing, just wasn't fellowship. I think wasn't enough at the time. And I was already working for a living. We were not, I was working at 14 to help my mom out, just two of us. So I only had so much time to do so many things. You know what I mean? And work took up 40-hour work week. By the time I was 14, that was the most of it. So getting back to Meredith, when my mom found out that when I basically told her that I was living with a medium, you can imagine the reaction from her background. She came flying out to the West Coast to meet Meredith. In the meantime, Meredith was asking me about my experiences with my kung fu teacher, as I said. And I said, well, I was gifted, but I wasn't advanced. So she said, well, I said, why do you ask? She said, well, everything, like I said, is energy and consciousness. I said, okay, I got that part. And she said, what meditation is breathing techniques that move the life force to certain places in the body, what they're called chakras, to help you withdraw. So you go away from the external stimuli, the physical world, which pulls us out, and you reverse that flow by going inward. Be still and know that I am. And that was a mind blower for me at the time. And uh, she looked at me and she said, I'll do this every night. After you shared that dream with me, I felt that that was very powerful. And I thought that was a message ascending that you got. And what you do with your life as a result of that, Grace, I don't know. But I felt the need to share this with you every night for as long as you asked. But you're not going to grow spiritually just watching the phenomena. You have to work at being a good person, spiritual person every day, like you do your guitar and your chess and your kung fu, the things that you love. And I said, well, how would I do that? I'm not Mother Teresa. I don't read to the blind. I like to think I'm a good person. I try to do. She goes, well, that's where meditation comes in because you can only study scripture or go to service. That there's another part, and that is the discipline you use to focus on the Lord, and meditation helps you do that. So that was not so far out there I couldn't, relate to that. So I'm just listening. She said, I said, so continue. She said, so I want you to read this book. And when you're done, I want you to get these meditation lessons. For the amount of money you spend taking me to dinner, you can get the entire course. And through your own intelligent self effort, the spiritual pilgrimage that you start off on, your spiritual bookends being your morning and your evening prayer, you can find a way to connect with the spirit, and are you doing that, or is that my computer? It's that the images are all moving around and everything.
Oh, that was me. I placed the image of,
Okay,
you say
you're
ectoplasmic,
good, man. I
like
just went to hit the button accidentally. Talk about old dog, new tricks. Don't leave me next to the red
like
button in the
dark
White House.
energies and stuff, right? Like you said, it was like looked like smoke. Well, here's an example of that
Right.
that I captured
I'm not the
while I was
quickest study all
walking.
the time, bro.
I was walking. I got dropped, by this dark energy,
Yes. Well,
and it looks like smoke if you can see the picture, and it's
you
coming
know,
from the sky. It's coming all over. It's all around me. Um, and what helped me that day is when I got dropped by this, because I was surrounded, I guess, and I accidentally took a picture, and my head was getting pressed against my chest. I said, "God help me!" When I said, "God help me," all the weight got lifted off of me.
wow.
But I got ambushed like around 6:30 in the morning by this, you know, this you talk about Acto is black. Well, there's dark spirits that are coming from the sky. You can see some of them are funneling from the sky downward. So that's what you know, I guess it was a spiritual battle. I
Yeah,
overcame it. I survived,
that's what it is. All
but
right.
this is during the
Spiritual
day,
warfare. Spiritual
spiritual
warfare.
warfare. So
It's out
I'm
there.
just giving an example of what he's talking about, like
I didn't know
goo or
what was going on. I thought
ectoplasmic.
I'd maybe hit a button on my computer or something.
Yeah,
Uh,
that is it's like color black. There's an example of that.
so
And I thought,
anyway, that was the beginning of a formal, I guess, conscious spiritual journey. And we're all almost. I think all of us, whether we're conscious, we all feel the need to pull to to God. And we'll call it by whatever name you want. When we get a little more experienced, refined in our awareness, and we know what that energy is, and we feel the light, the pull of the good and the light. Hopefully, that was, as I said, that woman had a Madonna, such a beautiful quality about her. You couldn't be in her presence and not feel relaxed. And I remember my mother saying to me, Kevin, you're open to a fault, and it's a charming quality when you're young. Remember how you feel when you're around them, not what you see, because the outer is just often too much of a mirage. And I was pretty young at the time, but old enough to grasp most of the meaning. And I reiterate that with Meredith because she was that, and she was also quick to dismiss what she called the gift. She don't get caught up in that. Just that it was given to me at birth, but it can be a distraction from getting to know Christ and getting to know the Father.
yeah, that's because those spiritual. It's like she's opening up, letting the spirits come into her. By opening up She said she's making contact with something that's in the spirit. The ectoplasmic is dark energies. So if she's allowing it, then it's got some kind of stronghold over her,
Well,
which of course
I didn't feel
there's
that
going to
way.
be
I didn't feel the
a
way
lot
at
of
all.
activity that's happening that way around her. But it's not the activity that happened around her is because
She's
she's
like,
allowing it.
I feel by
It's like
emo-
when a person is possessed. A person is possessed. They
yeah,
can change different forms,
but
like
that
you're
wasn't the
talking
case. I didn't think that was the case here.
about.
By consciously invoking Christ before she started everything, the energy in the room was never anything. I could not have witnessed what I did without being very fearful if I had not felt that spiritual vibe in the room.
Yeah,
And
it's kind of like because what you're saying is like to me, and somebody's not if somebody's here and displaying and they have believe in you, they're not going to change form. If something that's going to happen is going to be like if you pray for somebody for them to be healed, you're going to cause a miracle of healing. Or if you pray for somebody to get rid of the negative attachments they're going to go away. But if the person is changing form, is because there has to be some kind of witchcraft or necromancy going on in there with that. I believe that even though she might say God or Divine Mother, in order for her to do what she was doing, that's a form of witchcraft. It's kind of like a witch can manifest to a lechusa, change form, shift its look, um, which is kind of like sometimes they can, do things where they can put something in your drink or something in your food, like a form of witchcraft
yeah,
to to get a stronghold over you. And I believe that's what to me what you're describing, that something like that in that nature happened. Even though she might have said
I
God
can see your
or this,
point.
but the work that they do, if she was having this much activity, uh, man, she was allowing it, and you're just there witnessing because you had the spiritual belief in God, even though you're seeking further alternatives. But the way your mom raised you, right, about Jesus Christ, she would take you to the church, and that's where somewhere within you, your spiritual instincts, your spiritual senses were keen, in which you were seeing all the things that were happening around you. It's kind of like your senses was kind of like warning you in a sense of a way to be careful. That's why you was able to see
Well,
spirit.
it was Meredith herself who discouraged me from getting too caught up in phenomena. If you remember, she said to me at one point after we'd been at it for a few weeks, she said, you're not going to get to the spiritual place that you want to simply by observing phenomena. But I don't know. I don't really feel. I never felt that there was any. I know what witchcraft is. I've seen both what people call.
Did you sense any vibes like
I
when you
felt
seen
so.
the ectoplasmic? Right? Did your senses
I
get
felt.
triggered? Like
I
your
felt
hair stand
totally.
up or anything like that?
I felt totally at peace. I felt more calm and a sense of serenity. I don't think I could have seen what I did and not be freaked out because I wasn't high. Because before, when I'd seen phenomena, I had been high. I had taken things to induce that reaction, but I didn't want to do any of that. I was when I got to California, I was going to get started at base at level, and not take any kind of stimulus. I wasn't even drinking coffee if I could help it because I was so sensitive at the time. So to answer your question, no, man, she like I said, she exuded such a powerful. She talked about Christ all the time. Well, not all the time, but never. And at that time, that's all I wanted to talk about was spiritual things. I had been studying Buddhism, so many Hinduism, so many things. I had studied with a kung fu teacher who came out of a Taoist monastery. The real thing, a guy who fled the Cultural Revolution in China. This is back in 1973, where I lived in Maryland. People thought kung fu was something on a menu. Bruce Lee had only been dead a few months. So I was lucky to get the real deal, a real teacher. and I was looking for something, but what I believe, and if the intelligence is powerful enough, anyone can be fooled unless they're at an equal level to that thing. But I don't believe. I believe that whatever if you're spiritually oriented to begin with, if your heart is pure in its intent, not flawed character, all flawed, but if you have the right motivation, then your gut's going to tell you what's good and what's bad. I mean, what do we know? We know that God doesn't mind our mistakes; He minds our indifference. So it's intent, and I felt protected. I don't think I could have witnessed any of that. There's not possible. The degree of phenomena that I was seeing. I am nothing, as my mother once said, if not given to hyperbole. But there's no way I could possibly convey to you how profound the latitude of it. But which is why she counseled me not to pursue it beyond. She said, "You're not going to." She said, "I'm doing this because you asked. It's a gift." Now, again, maybe I should have started this. Uh, she was part of a church that had a pastor that basically used her gift, and when she found out how much money this guy was charging, she quit and moved down from Long Beach to Laguna Beach, and was working as a hostess at a restaurant. So that should tell you something about her own convictions. And I don't think anyone that attuned could be duped, so to speak. But I understand and respect anyone's position because, as I said before I started this journey, we are taught in the Bible to avoid mediums and witchery, and that's why I prefaced my story with just such a existential disclaimer, so to speak. But she was a beautiful individual, a beautiful person, and I never felt vaguely disquieted by anything I saw. Amazed, almost to the point I passed the popcorn. I mean, I was watching when I said nature spirits. I mean, the visual itself would have been construed as malevolent, but the energy was so calming that I never felt in peril at all. But eventually, all this
Uh,
stopped. You know,
so you never witnessed like a shapeshifter skinwalker that's in the manifestation of like a werewolf or lycanthrope?
I'm sorry. Would you please repeat that?
You ever witnessed like a
No.
werewolf
Oh, no,
or
no, no.
lycanthrope?
No, what I saw was it's like almost as if you like opened a door and you looked at a scene of nature, and then I saw these figures. But I saw what looked more like gargoyles more the time than I saw. But I did see werewolves. No question about it. And I asked her about it. She goes, "Well, they're nature spirits. Animals can see them, and when we're young, when we're innocent, before we lose our innocence, kids can see them, and certain sensitives, people that that we all have known at some point, who are just tuned to a higher plane, you know." But she was, like I said, uh, she was very quick to say, "Don't get caught up in that phenomena. For phenomena's sake, just lead you around in a circle. You want to learn how to pray deeply, so you can feel Christ, and the Father's energy inside, where we all our best part of us is." Uh, and that resonated with me because impressionable as I was at the time, I was immature enough to understand the wisdom of her words. And I was young, I was fascinated with stuff like astral projection. I was 21 years old. This was 1976, guys. The world was very young, very different then. I'm 70 now. I guarantee you that having this conversation back then, what we're doing now, wasn't so possible to do back then.
Check out this one, brother. This is from Elms Grove where I had my encounter. It did a live. I went there to do a live and I captured all kinds of activity. But I wanted to show you an image to see what you think. It's a short reel I created from the video of when I was leaving the area, or So I'm just going to show you the short reel
Okay.
to see what you if you
I'm
can
looking
see
forward
any.
to it because I've seen some of these videos. Go ahead, bro. I'm all ears and eyes. Oh, wow. Could you do it again,
Yes, it'll
please?
play again. And I have the original video, like a bigger. Uh,
Wow.
Wow,
It's
that's
my
mind blowing.
Ranito.
That is mind blowing. Wow.
that's in Elms Grove. On the original video, when I when it, I guess it must one of the things that it said in Spanish, it said call me a marranito, which means little little pig.
Wow. That's amazing, man. Well,
Check it out. There's movement and there's a mouth. It opens his mouth.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let me slow it down for you. It looks like it even's got
That's
like,
incredible,
there you go. It looks like it's
man.
got horns right in the center.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see that.
It's got the teeth, the mouth. This is in Elms Grove,
It's taller than the damn
and
trees.
it's pretty tall. I can show you, but I'm just there's an image right there. I think I got a picture with his mouth open,
Well,
but
I remember
it looks like
the first time I saw you, Abe, on that show. Uh, I knew that you had touched on something very deeply
yeah,
dark and occult. With the one with your sister, I think, was with you on the trail, the
yes,
mobile home. Yeah, yeah, that blew my mind. And as I said, this kind of thing is it just seems like all of a sudden everywhere in our world is these this like I said, it's like someone opened Pandora's box. Between what the government shenanigans are up to, creating super soldiers, genetically designed werewolves, and people playing magician, and I mean, it's just
so
people
what do
just
you
got.
think that is, brother? Right there.
Pardon me, sir.
Well, what do you think that is right here in this
Man, I
picture?
don't know, but it's definitely something that you don't see, in a Disney movie.
yeah,
It's the beast.
Yeah, Sharp Jack,
yeah.
and
Let me.
I remember you saying how you felt when you were,
Yeah,
experiencing that when you tried to get the kids and pull them back. Remember that when they were just standing up and like still as statues, and I guess that's what I was trying to without going
like in a trance-like
wearing this
state.
out. I want to reiterate, I never felt any of that when I was in Meredith's presence. I never felt anything but at peace and motivated to go further and try and connect with this beautiful energy that is our heritage spiritually, as human beings, the sons of the Father and Jesus Christ. It's the most powerful energy there is. But the devil is powerful, man, and his minions, the dark forces are out there. But you can believe that. And I have never seen it ratcheted up like this, man. Never. People
I
need
got
this.
a photo too that I captured from the. I mean, there's a short reel where it's actually moving. I do have a photo of something that I captured
Well, please
after I
feel
saved
free
the
to
man.
show it. I haven't seen.
After we
This is
saved
my
the
first
man's
time
life
watching your show, so
from drowning. I captured an image. I just hadn't showed it. I showed it the other day, and people were, I guess, like the image, no cousin, what I was showing. So let me see if I can share that image. Let me look it up. See if I can find it. It's from like around 2000 and man, let me see it 2011.
Be
hey,
careful
The
out there, Taylor Nemesis.
where was that
the
last image taken that you showed? Where in Texas, obviously somewhere, but I think.
in Elms Grove,
Oh, that's right. You did say that, Elks Grove. Where is that?
yes, in Killeen, Texas.
Killeen again. Wow, a lot going on in
Where,
Killeen, isn't there?
where I used to live. Yeah. So here's another image from Elms Grove Estates. Here we go.
Wow.
What do you see there, brother?
I don't know. It looks like it could be what people call a crawler, but look at that, Jesse.
That is a Reaper. It's by that pole. You can see the skull face. I said, be
Uh,
careful out there with the owl out there, Sailor Nemesis.
Abe, did you take these with your phone, your phone camera?
yeah. What happened the day, brother, is the day before. There's a story behind this.
Do not
Uh,
screech back there, Sailor
the
Nemesis.
the, the night before, the creek had risen, and the water has swept a lot of the mobile homes into the
Ah,
woods,
wow.
and I was trying to help out the elderly because there was a
Yeah,
elderly.
good for
So I
you.
was up neck high going to mobile homes near the park where the water had risen, but people had already evacuated. So I was walking back home and I seen some lights in the distance, and my nephew said that there was some lights over there from a vehicle. You could see the tail lights sticking up, from the water.
Yeah, right.
Well, I told him to go see if anybody was there or anything like that. So he went, and then they're like yelling, "Hey, somebody's trapped in the car!"
That's what
Wow.
you're
So
supposed to do,
it was
sailors.
when we got there, we recognized the vehicle. It belonged to a guy named Frank. That the when the water rose, he said he was. I guess he was backing out because he lived by the edge of the park, and he swept him. It took him. So he was underwater, and the water was up to his nose. He was trying to break the window. He
Wow.
was freaking screaming and crying.
I
And
guess so.
it was me, my brother-in-law, and my two nephews. We went and grabbed the vehicle. I put myself in front of the Mustang so the water wouldn't take it, and I stopped it from moving.
Smart thinking
And they
and
grabbed the
brave.
rear, and I told them, look, this is what we're gonna do. He was trying to break the windows. I said, don't stay calm, relax. We're gonna help you. So we're gonna use the tires as a floating device, and we're gonna lift it. We lifted it up a little bit, and we started walking it, a little bit at a time, inch at a time. We started walking it to higher ground. As we were walking into higher ground, this guy, he was in shock and I was trying to keep him calm. And the police was up the hill, the fire department was up the hill. They even had a rubber, one of those floating, whatever, like a raft,
A
but they
dinghy.
wouldn't come down. They didn't know what was going down.
Indeed.
They didn't know what was going on.
Guy.
So they had the police and the fire truck up there, but they wouldn't come down to where the flooding was happening. So
Was the guy
they, they,
okay?
they gave us an order to leave the vehicle alone,
Oh,
or else they're going to arrest us. But they didn't know.
wow.
We were just trying to get them to safety.
I can
They
believe
didn't know what was going on. So by the time we take them to higher ground, they're coming up like they're going to arrest us. So we open up the door, and the water just came out of the vehicle.
I bet.
Then he came out of the vehicle, and I looked at the cops, and I flipped them all off. The cops and the fire department. I flipped them all off,
But the
and
guy
I
was
told them, "F
okay.
y'all."
The guy
I
was
said,
okay.
we just saved the man's life.
Yeah.
And the guy, it was telling all those people, the cops and those people, even the managers from the office, to stay away from him because he was in shock. He was pissed off. The reason he was pissed off is because he called the managers, letting them know that he was trapped in the car, and nobody came for him.
Wow.
Now there's the management from the park. Nobody came for him,
How old was this
and
guy, Abe? Roughly.
he was a Vietnam vet. He
You're
was already
kidding
up
me.
there in age,
Wow.
like 65, 66 at
Wow.
that time. Like in 2011, he was that old already. He's a Vietnam vet.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
his name was Frank,
Being his 80s.
and
Yeah. Easy.
um, he used to be the pool monitor of that park. So he was pissed off with the management because he called them while he was trapped in the car, and then nobody came to help him, and
Well, it's
we
a good
helped
thing
him.
you did.
So the following day, they took him to the hospital because he was in shock. You could tell he was in shock.
Wow.
Uh, Following day, I go to the park and I'm looking at all the damage that happened in the park. The office got damaged. The the park on the other side was all messed up. The merry-go-round was upside down, and I went to where the swing set was. Right. So as I was just because it was muddy everywhere because of
I
the water
bet.
had
Yeah.
rose. So as I was looking, I seen somebody sitting Indian style in the middle of the swing sets, looking at me, and he's
Wow.
looking at me pissed off, and I could see like a face of a skull, and he's looking at me pissed off. So I pull out my phone, I grab my phone, I walked like 2 steps, and I turned it and took a picture.
And that's what you got.
and that's what I got there. You can
Wow.
see the face,
You can see it clearly.
which is of the Reaper or Death, whatever you want to call it. It was pissed off because they wanted to take Frank's life, but we saved him from it. So the Reaper was pissed off and he wanted to take somebody. But there it is. That's an old image I had from Elms Grove.
You
And
know,
as you can see in the background, you can see what seems to be a native spirit of a woman
yeah,
sticking out of
to
the
the right.
ground to the right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of activity. I found out later on through some people that all that area, it's a native Indian burial ground. All that
How you
area,
doing, man?
native Indian burial ground. That's why I believe there's so much activity. Sometimes you hear the drum beats coming out of the woods.
Wow. Do
You
you
hear
remember
drum beats.
when you told me that Filipino woman that warned you about the woods before she moved?
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's just an image I was sharing with you. I know it's World
Thank
Wednesday.
you.
I do got
Appreciate
an
that.
image of. Let me take that off. The image of the one that had his mouth open. I got an image of that.
Some of the
Uh,
women are flipping you off.
You know, man,
oh
it's
yeah, I got so many images, brother. This one I wanted yeah, I can show the one that's says uh Werewolf Wednesday. Here's another one here I can share with y'all. Let me share this one. This is from the other side of Elms Grove, and this is another image. And of should I show? I can show this one, or I can show the regular one, cousin. Let me show the
uh,
regular one.
show them the cocaine werewolf.
Oh, all right. Let me go look into the. Let me
I
get
call
out
it
of
the
here.
cocaine werewolf, Kevin, because it's got a white spot on its nose. I said,
Yeah.
he went like this. Yeah.
So you want to see the cocaine werewolf? All right, here we go. Let me find them.
He's got some real huge ears, Kevin,
wow.
and you can tell where his nose is because he's got a white spot on his nose. Somebody else named him. What did they name him? They named him. Damn, what did they name him? They named him Powder Hound or something like that.
Yeah, I gotta find them first here. See if I can locate them.
And then you got that picture of the one that's in front of the tree, cousin. That's got the one that's got the two scars over its eye. If you can
Yeah.
see clearly, you got that one too. There
Yeah,
you
let's show
go,
some pictures.
Blowhound. We call him Blowhound.
Blowhounds.
Let me
Listen,
see if I can
Shirley.
find them real quick. Yeah, there's a lot of activity in that park, Kevin. Shadow figures. I think is this it? Let me see.
Hey, Abe, how large an area would you guess that park is roughly? I mean,
It's pretty big. It's got a lot of mobile homes in there. But the
a couple of football field size, or much larger than that, much smaller.
oh yeah, much larger than that.
That's quite wow. You know, when I first started listening to what people are calling dogman encounters, I noticed right away, and I know you guys have too, how when often someone has had an encounter, how much more likely they are to have another one. And I think, given the experience that you related to on the show I saw, when the kids, they were your kids, weren't they? At least one of them. That was
One of them was my son.
right.
Uh,
So,
my son. Yeah.
from that time on, it seems like you have been drawn to, or these, experiences are more likely to happen with people who've had them already. Um,
Yeah, there he is right there. The
wow.
let me see. Let me see if it's the good image of him because I
Yeah,
have other.
no, you need to
Was
get
that
you need to get the right filter where you can. There you go. There he is.
Wow.
Look at
Gee.
that. Look at that spot on his nose. You can see the big ears,
Yeah.
the
That's
the big
body.
incredible.
the big pointy ears?
That's incredible.
The white spot on his nose because he's a user.
He just came from a meeting. He messed up.
Maybe he's from the 70s, brother. Back in the days.
Yeah, he's like, "Ooh, need a gram."
Look at his hand.
That's
But
incredible,
that's
really.
that's an image from Elms Grove. Is from Elms
You
Grove.
you can see his eyes, his teeth, man. You can see everything on that one, man. He's black too.
Killeen, is that like north of Dallas or Austin? I can't remember where it is, guys. I'm sorry, I'm not from.
Yeah, it's north of Austin.
That's okay.
It's 45 minutes away from Austin.
Wow. Well, Josh has talked about so many things that are around Austin, and
Yeah,
the surrounding areas, and all over Texas, really. But the Devil's Backbone and places off of the various highways that I can't remember the names now. I started writing them down. I was so blown away by the consistency of events that have been related. It's
That
like,
is a good capture, cousin. That is a good capture right there. Thumbs up. Werewolf Wednesday.
huh,
Woo!
huh, wow, huh.
In
So,
stocking mode.
you know, it seemed that as a kid, I was drawn to studying ancient history and mythology. I don't know why; it just spoke to me. Archaeology, and as I continued to read, it seemed like every culture had a concept of relating to nature in a way, both for good and bad reasons. Shape shifting uh, in Africa, where leopards, the jaguar priest of the Mayans, uh, where jaguars, the priest of Africa, where hyenas, um, and in China and Japan, the women witches were where foxes. Indigenous people of the Americas have a shape. This goes back for and touches so many. And I remember reading about the Vikings, and when they became Christians and started to actually go from an oral tradition to writing things down, Iceland for some reason became a place where the history of their own mythology and their own origins became collected in an academic format, and the sagas, as they call them, there's about 54 of them. And at 15, at least 15 or 16 of them have to do with werewolf encounters. It's, or stories of people shifting purposely, One of which was a father son, fable of a father and son who would put on a pelt, skin and become. Anyway, and then when I started studying Kung Fu, my master was a Taoist, but the Shaolin, which means Buddhist. It came from India originally, and it's quiet as it kept. They have the animal forms, the tiger, crane, leopard, snake, dragon, eagle, monkey, etc. So it seems that man, from the beginning of time, has been trying to relate to the infinite, mystically through nature, and then of course out here in the Southwest, we hear so much about skinwalkers. I just saw a story. Some guy, young guy, was relating how he's with his grandfather in Idaho somewhere, and his grandfather had taken him up, and they were getting pulling targets out of their truck to shoot at, practice shooting, and they had just gotten started when the grandfather told him to get in the truck, and he says, "My grandfather is such that he didn't have to say much to tell him. His voice told you everything, and he didn't argue. You just did what you were told." And got to preach that old school ethic, man. Anyway, as if there was any other school. Anyway, so he said, now, Jason. And so he ran to the truck and started hauling it out of there. He said, I tried to look behind myself to see what my grandfather was looking at in the rearview mirror. And he turned my head with his hand and made me face forward. And at that point, I had just seen out of the corner of my eye something jumping down from the hill behind the cabin. And as they sped off, he looked in the side mirror and saw this thing racing behind them that he said had to have been 7 and 8 feet tall, and it was slim, and it looked like the way people describe skinwalkers or Wendigos to be. I think he was using the term Wendigo at that time. Oh, wow, there's another one. And
That's the one that's flipping him off.
that's
You
funny.
can you can see the digit where it's flipping him off.
And the years.
Wow.
Yeah, it
Disrespectful
didn't want
people.
me. It want me in the territory. You know, I,
Anyway,
I
this
was using my spiritual senses, and that's why he didn't want me in that area. I got one that's mind blowing. Also, besides this, let me
So
get back to
what,
y'all.
so what was it that was chasing you?
oh, well, he started to peel off, and his grandfather wouldn't talk about it, but his grandfather got up to 80 miles an hour and took that speeding ticket when he got into town limits gladly. But he looked at it, and his grandfather never talked about him. At least not he didn't relate that in this video, which I could be happy to send you a link to. I saw it on YouTube, and but this is interesting. Um, he said this thing looked athletic as you can imagine. It was racing like an Olympian, and it was tall, lean. You could see its ribs and pieces of flesh. I think he said hanging off it, but he said the vibe he got. He said I could feel it in my chest. I could feel the darkness, the spirit inside of me. It was horrific, and I knew that my grandfather was rattled, and seeing him rattled really rattled me. Fast forward to years later, this guy's talking about going out in a similar area, maybe 20 miles from it. And he's with a bunch of guys, friends of his, two other guys to be precise. And they're over this bridge which strutted over this canyon. And he saw off in the distance something that it caused him to, to look very earnestly to see if he was seeing correctly. And as he did, the thing moved behind a tree. And this had to have been like at least 100 yards off. And he immediately told his buddies to get in the truck, and they started to chastise him for being paranoid. He had evidently shared the stories before him, but they were, you know, uh, didn't know anything, and like so many people don't know anything, think they know everything. And by the time that he got finished arguing with him, this creature had covered such an immense amount of territory, and it was coming up the hill on the other side of the bridge. And when they all saw it, they all freaked out and basically almost ran each other over getting inside the truck. Again, same thing happens. They speed off, and this thing is hauling ass behind him like an Olympian sprinter. He said, "What really freaked me out is that we got about 100 yards down the road, just as the and uh, just as what were they about? I think he said maybe quarter of a mile from the original run, and he saw two more converging from each flank. He said, I thought I was scared the first time of my grandfather. Nothing like I was that day. And again, history repeats itself. He's racing until he gets into town and gets a speeding ticket. They say truth has a ring to it. And as much of a cliche as that is, we all know that cliches exist because there is a grain of truth in them. And the cat felt totally legit. And I was telling my girlfriend, I said, because she was really like, oh, come on, Kevin. I mean, I was okay with you talking about your girlfriend, but werewolves, and I said, well, don't be so quick, to dismiss things because the world we're living in is nothing like the one we grew up in, the one we're living in now, you know. And she's older than me, so she should know better. But I said to her, whether you're talking about UFOs, skinwalkers, Wendigo, werewolves, dog, if 5% of what we're seeing out here is true, what we're seeing on YouTube, what we're seeing discussed, people, if 5% is true, we have to rewrite all the books and reboot the way we see everything, because the game is on, as they say, and there seem to be very little rules, if any, except anchored in your faith, hold true to the Lord, hold close to Christ and our Heavenly Father, lean into that hard, because everything else comes after that.
That was a heck of a story, man. I can picture it.
Well, I appreciate you letting me share my own as well as this one. And, like so many of us, when I have the time, have to spend a certain amount of time, uh, like all of us, making a living, with my music, with my writing, and I try to exercise enough to keep the doctor's way. When I have spare time, I love to read about stuff like this. And in the old days, it was strictly from an academic perspective. So now to encounter a world where these things are springing to life, well, I'm a little unnerved, but I have the unique perspective of being able to enjoy it from the armchair quarterback position. I'm in a very in an area that is like Disneyland, but I have no illusions as to what's on the other side of that fence, so to speak. It seems like all bets are off. I hear discussions by park rangers talking about things they're not told not to disclose. You
Yeah,
know,
they've seen them out there.
yeah,
They've witnessed things. I talked to a park ranger, and I was telling them at the VA because I was going through what I was going through at Elms Grove, and when I asked him if he witnessed anything like that, you could see the fear in his face,
I bet, I
but
bet,
he didn't tell me anything. He just told me
which
that there's
tells you
certain things
everything.
out there that there's things out there that haven't been discovered or whatever, but in his own way.
Yeah, yeah. Science
I
hasn't
showed him a
formally
picture. I showed
acknowledged
him a
it.
picture, right?
Pardon me?
A picture, and he's like he recognized what was in the picture, but
Ah,
he couldn't tell me what it is.
yeah. Yeah, science has not formally acknowledged these things, but politics and money play so much of a role. As you guys know, I remember Carl Sagan when I was a kid. He was so pro being open to extraterrestrial and UFOs, and then when the academic powers that be refused to give him any more grants, if he kept going that direction, all of a sudden he came from that perspective 180 degrees the other way, like, well, fantastic claims require fantastic proof. Just did a flip. And I get it. You want to continue to have the luxury of making a living, surviving. And you're in the academic world, which is bound by those politics, which rule everything, no matter what you're involved in. It's one of the reasons I chose music. So free of that, as hard to live it as it's been. Anyway, yeah, we live in fantastic times. We really do. And werewolves, what's Werewolf Wednesday, and I'm sure Josh wouldn't mind if I brought up his show. And I know you're talking, when I'm talking about the werewolf confessions. It's one thing to talk about dogmen. And as a kid that studied history, one of the first books I read was by the guy that's considered the father of history. In the West, we get so much of our stuff from the Greeks, our concept of democracy, politics, you know, uh, but there are other civilizations are older. But as you know, India is older than anything in the Fertile Crescent. But without digressing there, Herodotus, the so-called father of history, wrote this book. It's like that thick, called the Histories. And people said that he used to exaggerate a lot, battle scenes, how many warriors, stuff like that. But enough of the right people said this guy was, pretty much the best, one of the better barometers we have for accuracy. And he talked liberally about the cynocephalus, the dog-headed people, and he mentions them in Libya. He mentions them in India, and you know, uh, this bears scrutiny. But there's a big difference between an organic creature, regardless of the nature of its origin, and a person that consciously shifts. You know, uh, whether it's from a Nordic, a Viking legend, or whether it's like when the Skinwalkers, the intention is still the same. Utterly fascinating. As a kid, like so many people, I was drawn to. It was a natural segue to me to read about mythology and then go look at horror films or read about, like creepy, eerie magazine, which were the things that, and when I was young, that were out there. I think those things, if you have to collect stuff, they're probably worth a lot of money, but they were like, a next stage to comic books, to Marvel comic books, with stuff like Creepy and Eerie Magazine. And they were chock full of these kind of stories. And of course, you had your various movies. And by the time like stuff like The Howling came out, American Werewolf in London, I was in my mid 20s by then. And I don't know, the transformation scene in The Howling, where as corny as it sounds, the guy says, I want to give you a piece of my mind, and he pulls a bullet out of it.
Remember, I
That's got to
remember.
be
Yeah,
landmark transformation scenes in freaking history. I mean, that was done before the CGI was so advanced. The skill of the people that did that. But I'll tell you the truth, man. When I saw that, I had to wonder if there was some real magic going on when they did that movie, because a lot of things that right in front of our eyes are people doing magic right in our face. There was a video of with the artist, and I told you I get killed, buddy. But there was a music video that I saw by a very respected, and I love all music, but I particularly love uh, what they call salsa, Latin jazz, and from its original uh, architects, you know, uh, to the present, And I saw this music video, and when I saw it, I realized that I was looking at a Santeria ceremony. Now, Santeria, in its original conception, like voodoo, was not about anything evil. But there's a dark side to that, like there is what they call the Black Mass. And when the Christians in the Dark Ages were falling to the bubonic plague, they gave up their belief and their faith quickly, many of them, and started to go to what they call the Black Mass because they figured, well, if Jesus and our Father won't save him, maybe the devil will. A simplistic interpretation of those times and those motives, but I'm not too far off. So, yeah, we're living in amazing times, and that thread can be followed back to the beginning of time, where people have been seeking transformation of one kind or another for a number of reasons, not the least of which is survival or aggrandizing of riches and power or whatever form. And today we have all the technology that can bring it front and center. And just the fact that we can do this tonight is a beautiful thing. Like connecting last night, to be able. My best friend, I Skype with him every Tuesday night, and yeah, my whole life you could describe it, old dog, new tricks. I just don't know technology. It's kind of scary what kind of trouble I get into, but um, it's a beautiful thing when we have the tools to use it in such a positive manner, and you can reach so many people through what you're doing. And I want to thank you again for the prayer you led the other night, Abe. I really felt that.
You're welcome, brother.
There's so much discord in the world, especially among cryptozoologists, if that's the right word. And the powers that be love it when we're fighting each other. It makes it easier for them to play their shell game and do the crap they're doing with their money, with their lives. So to be united, leaning in our at least our faith, and personalities, you can't. Who can predict or explain chemistry or the things that rub you wrong about that guy or this person, But if our faith should be rises above our egos, and that's easier said than done. Uh, anyways, but that's just a really good. Thanks for having me again here tonight. It's been.
You're welcome, brother.
I'm not planning to split, but I just wanted to thank you, Jesse, and everyone here that makes this possible. Audience,
Thank you for coming in, man. I really enjoyed your testimonies.
Oh yeah.
thank you. I did not exaggerate a syllable. I mean, I just have to try to remember. It's amazing how, as dotard as I've gotten, as times I think like, am I really 70? How did this happen? And it shows. But this stuff is burned into my soul, but in a beautiful way. Like I'm not saying that I can't lie and say I know exactly the origin of these manifestations, but I know what the intent was because I lived with this woman and I was intimate with her, and she didn't have a mean bone in her body. Now, can we be used as tools? Sure, and people can be fooled, you know. But that's just
Yeah.
my take for whatever it's worth. She was a beautiful person, and and I don't. I'm incapable of consciously trying to hurt somebody unless I'm defending myself or someone I love. I just don't have that in me. I love animals and people. I'm soft. Put it right out there like that. But I'm
Yeah, the
resilient.
balance. There's a
Don't
lot
get
of things
cheap.
within the balance that just people
What's that?
don't understand. A lot of things within the balance.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, right. And all
Like
things
you said
balance.
earlier, it's like opening up the box of Pandora. A lot of
There
things
you
of
go.
the balance.
Yeah.
Like all night we've been here. Last time I did my life in the woods, birds were following me around.
Yeah.
Because they can mimic the shifter storms can mimic sounds. So all night while I've been doing this live, I've been hearing nothing but birds outside in front of my house. But that's okay. They
I
could
got
be
a question
outside.
for you, Kevin.
So long they don't come inside, we good.
What style of kung fu did you learn, Kevin?
I studied under what they call Northern. There,
Okay.
and he was a Taoist. He knew Shaolin forms, but he was raised by a Taoist priest. Um, I mean, basically, it was so traditional that they weren't even taught anything until they could hold the Mabu stance for like an hour. He said,
Wow.
yeah, he said when he came to America, he just Americans aren't ready for that kind of old school stuff.
Yeah. Good
Especially
style,
anyone
yeah.
that had seen Chinese Connection, the dragon. But he was a beautiful cat, and he lived with such austere simplicity. I remember once walking to the school in a snowstorm. I was so dedicated, man. And we everything was called off. And when I got there, he just like, it's great to be dedicated, but you got to use your common sense. I got to get you home somehow. And he was walking around with a bowl of pig ear soup, and I
Oh,
was I was following him. Yeah, I know. And in his room, which was the size of like a kitchen, he had one suit that he used for business, and under his cot was a couple of uniforms. He lived in such Spartan austerity. He was so dedicated, but he studied his mastery of the Taoist forms was Xingyi, Bagua, and of course Tai Chi, which is the oldest. And but he knew some of the Shaolin forms. He knew Hungar, which is Tiger Crane, and he would it was really hard to get him to. He wouldn't let us watch him. He did the introductory lesson to get you in and show you some razzle dazzle, and he was amazing because I was 17, so he was still fairly young at the time, so he could still do a lot. Very limber, and I remember him telling me, "Get your splits down before you're 30, because if you don't, it'll be really, really hard." And there are certain things that he impressed upon us at that time, 1973, were not really emphasized as much as they are these days, which is stretching and general flexibility. He said it was bad to do a lot of jogging because of the shock in your ankles and knees. And the forms that we did were enough cardio wise. And they exercise every part of your body, so you didn't have to do a separate exercise for your thighs, another for your butt, another for your calf. We do the forms right. Everything is moving, is integrated and synchronized at once. So that's what I learned was some of the stuff under what they call Bagua and Tai Chi. He wanted everyone to learn Tai Chi. But we're kids. We'd seen Bruce Lee movies. You want to learn. So he said, you need to learn how to defend yourself. Great, but Tai Chi is the best because it moves the life force. It's the healthiest. And but a lot of people think Tai Chi means when it says grand ultimate. That's the direct interpretation. They think it's the moving the blood, but it's moving the life force as well as the blood, and it's deceptive. And there are martial aspects that can be applied as docile as it looks when you're watching someone do it. But yeah, he was a profound. I didn't have a dad. My father and my mother split up when I was very little, and so like many, I was looking for a father figure. So much of my life, it sought it. The people around me, and I was working at the county. Curiously enough, with those brothers when that happened. We're on our lunch break, and I saw a sign that said Lynn's Kung Fu, and I walked up the stairs, and he was studying under Willie Lin and Tony Lin. Tony Lin's out of Hong Kong, does a lot of the movies, but he was he got his own school not long after that. But I had the introductory lesson, and he wouldn't let us watch much, but every now and then he'd show us, here is Snake, here's Praying Mantis, just amazing, unbelievable. At that time, the world was very different. You couldn't even acupuncture was against the law to practice in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia at that time, 1973, 1974. I kid you not. Different world, and it's been amazing to see the changes, wrought in our world. And so many ways we're still primitive and so far to go, but uh, back then it was very, very different. To see the changes culturally, it's been gratifying for me, because civil rights were just in their infancy when I was, a young man, and I didn't understand that because I wasn't programmed. That my mother, like myself, despite many flaws, there's our boy. Uh,
Whopper. Gentlemen, I'm sorry to say this, but I gotta go.
Hey,
Uh,
cousin, I just brought Bruce Lee on. What's up?
woo.
I love.
I'm Leon Power cousin, and We reached the 2 hour mark, so I gotta go.
All right, cousin.
Jesse,
I got,
nice meeting you. Thank you for letting me share.
yeah, thank you
Good
for
night, cousin.
coming in and sharing your testimony, man. I enjoyed it.
My pleasure. It's an honor, really.
People, like always, thank y'all for coming in. We really enjoy when you come in and hang out with us and spend your time here. And saying that, may the Lord protect you while you sleep, and may your day be full of abundance and blessings when you wake up in the morning. Good night, y'all.
God bless.
Bye, Kevin.
Good night.
Good night, guys. Good night, Abe. Hey, Abe, let's talk.
I'm still gonna. Yeah. Good night. I'm probably gonna sign off in a moment.
Okay.
He got to get up early in the morning. That's why he left. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate it, brother, for being on here and sharing your stories.
Well, thank you.
Anybody got any questions for Kevin?
I'm sorry. I don't. I want to apologize if I ignored anyone. I don't. I see private chat. I really don't know how to partake in this like I should. My apologies. I don't want to
Yeah, no, yeah,
ignore anyone.
that's fine.
Uh, But yeah, it's great that this is a wonderful thing. There's no telling how it could grow. To be able to
Yeah,
share the
we
word.
normally late night, but in your time it would be 9 o'clock. But over here it's 11. It's let me see. We started 11. It's 1:42 in the morning right now.
Well,
So
we could chat privately whenever if spirit moves you. I was fascinated with your story, and as I said, it's interesting how when a person has crossed over in that dimension, how the seems to be drawn like a magnet experiences and entities to that person as time goes on. As you continue to have
yes,
these experiences, there's nothing accidental or coincidental about it. And I think that with the sincerity of your prayer, it reflects the kind of energy that is needed, and the forces that be are challenged by that sincerity and that faith. So from one brother to another, I encourage you to continue leaning,
thank you, brother.
leaning and leading with that, man, because there's no substitute for it. None. It was really cool. Werewolf Wednesday. Do you have that? Is that like once a month or
Yeah,
okay?
we do it every Wednesday. Every
Oh, okay.
Wednesday.
Very cool. Yeah,
My cousin named it Wednesday. I said, well, let's do it.
it's interesting how a part of us is like hitting a tuning fork, spiritually speaking.
Yeah, I just do it late. I try not to do like. I mean, I could go do lives earlier and stuff, but I like doing it around this time frame. For me, is good because we do. It's like we catch from 11 to 12 is one day, and then the other is another day. But that's how we do. It's like we're doing 2 days we show, right? But then the following day, the same thing. And so yes,
I think you're a night person too, like myself. Yeah.
yes, I'm a night person, so I get most of my sleep early in the morning or in the morning. Depends if I have to get up or not. But right now I'm wide awake. But
Yeah, you're just hitting. Yeah, it's funny because most of my life we used to play music. We would start not till like 9 or 9:30 for the most part, and we played till 1:30 or two. And years ago that changed, and the gig started uh, much earlier. But my internal clock is still like I'm on my like halfway through my second set at 11:15.
yeah,
Internally, whether I'm gigging or not that night, that's where I am inside.
the story I wanted to share to your brother is when I was 19. I went to basic training in Fort Knox, and I got stationed. My first duty station was Erlangen, Germany. Right, so I wasn't even there a couple of months, and it was this. I was at a bar, right? I was at a bar, and there was this beautiful, beautiful, I don't know, German woman, very, very beautiful, looked like a model, and we were just talking. We're talking all night. So once the club closed, it was like 2 in the morning. She had her like a 10 speed because Germans like riding their bikes. So I was just walking with her. We're walking and we're just talking. Uh, and she told me that if I wanted to, I could stay at her apartment since
Nice,
it was very very late at night
accommodating
because
gal.
it was still a distance to go to the billets. So I said, sure, I got, and she said, you can sleep on my couch. I said, okay. So I went into the apartment complex. One of the things that we're talking that night, because she told me she was a gypsy, right?
Huh?
And I asked her some questions. I asked her, is it true uh, about the werewolf, the legend of the werewolf, that it's a curse? And she says that it does exist within the gypsy, but this werewolf, right, is more of a summoning, that they summon them
Wow.
kind of
Okay.
like through I guess witchcrafts. You think about gypsies, they're also like fortune tellers, right?
Oh, they sure
Because
are.
they're
I've
psychics
known a
and all that,
few.
right?
Some of them are great
So
musicians too.
yeah, so I was laying down on her couch. She goes into her room, to her bedroom, and then she comes out and she tells me that they want to go lay down in her bed, and she's like butt naked. The
Oh,
Germans, their customs over there is different than the United States, so
I've
you
played in
don't
Europe. I know
so you don't think you
several
can't
times.
think wrong with the wrong head, and just put it that way. So I go and I lay down right beside her, and I got all my clothes on. We have been drinking a lot that night, so I fell asleep beside her. So really, nothing happened between me and her physically
Right.
because I fell asleep. When I woke up, I went like this, and she wasn't there beside me.
Huh.
Uh, I'm looking, the room is dark. I just hear like thumping sound, like thump, thump, thump.
Wow.
And when I look like that, I see that the door to the entrance of the bedroom is open, and I see a silhouette of somebody sitting Indian style there. And when I'm looking, I see thump, thump. Uh, it's not her. It's like an old lady, and she has white hair. Her eyes are rolled back white, and there's like foam coming out of her mouth. You know, kind of like a rabid dog, but foam coming out of her mouth.
Oh, look at the time. You know,
And
let it go.
I'm trying to see what she's hitting
Yeah.
uh, the ground with, and I'm like, man, did I get her that pissed off? But I was like, that's not the girl. Um,
Wow, that's
so
amazing.
I hear him the thump. I look, the mirror. She had one of those, those stand up mirrors.
Yes. Full
The
length.
mirror is the mirror is broken, and blood is dripping from her hand where she cut her hand, and she's stumping the hell out of the wooden floor. So I get up real slowly, and I'm looking, and I'm like, man, this is an old lady, and I'm looking for the girl. She's not in there. It's just an old lady, but she's butt naked. So I go around her real slowly. I go to the door, and it's got all kinds of deadbolts on the sucker and chains, and I'm like looking like this, and I'm only 19 years old. I'm looking to make sure she don't get up and run after me with that dang piece of glass that she's got in her hand.
Right.
So I locked all the locks, and I open the door, and I take off running out of there. I'm running like Usain Bolt don't got nothing on me. I would have beat Usain Bolt that night. I was flying. I ran all the way back to the village, and I kept on looking back.
You see
But
bolt.
it's kind of like looking back to make sure, because the image of her flying in the air coming after me was on my mind, like a witch.
And you met her at this bar, right?
So I didn't even go through the checkpoint to enter the Ferris barracks. I jumped over the wall. It was like a 12-foot wall. I jumped over it,
You're
and
lucky
I
to
went
get in trouble.
straight to the billets, right?
Yeah.
So I was freaked out with that, and it's like, man, I ain't gonna tell this story to nobody, none of my friends, because they're gonna laugh at me.
How long
They're
did
gonna
it go
say,
before you did share that?
yeah, they're gonna say I ran away from a female, right? And so I let it be, and I kept it to myself. And I was kind of didn't want to go back out there to the economy, But then my friends, it was Strawberry Fest, so they invited me to go to the Strawberry Fest, and we were drinking all night, right? Uh, so they were telling, "Hey, have you ever heard about the Strawberry Witch?" So that's why they do this fest for the Strawberry Witch of here of Erlangen. They call her the Strawberry Fest Witch. And I was like, no, I never heard. So they took me down some stairs and they stopped. There was like a bench. So I sat on the bench and I said, no, it's behind you. It was a statue. And when I looked at the statue, it looked like the same old lady.
Wow,
Well, actually, the statue was how she looked. It
that's
looked,
incredible.
yeah, it looked like the same person that
What
I
town
seen
was this in, Abe? What part of
in
Germany?
Erlangen, Germany.
Where?
Erlangen,
Erlangen.
Erlangen.
Okay. Wow.
And it was they had a statue of the Strawberry Fest Witch there, and it looked like the same one. And they say that every year that they say that this witch will come out. She comes out, she will come looking for a young man
Really?
to to I guess get his soul. So I believe I encountered that Strawberry Fest Witch. That's
It
what it
sounds
was that
like
I
it.
encountered. But
You know,
I guess heavenly angels and the heavenly Father was protecting me.
yeah, you were.
That's why she was pissed off and banging on the ground because I had a higher
You
protection
were
on me.
protected. You were protected, and it frustrated
Yes.
you. But before I forget, if you want me to come back sometime, I think you'd be interested to hear my mother's. Leave it to my mother to upstage me, but as I like to say, but my mother had an experience with the Fae, as Josh calls them, and as they're called in Ireland, and being very into her Irish heritage and being a strict Catholic at the same time, it usually went together because most of the Irish are Catholics. But she had an experience coming back from lunch to work one day that's just tremendous. And it sounds like you want to go to sleep now, but
Oh,
um,
go ahead, brother.
well,
Share it.
my mom, I can't stress how strict my mother was in terms of Catholicism. Her faith kept her alive, and in that, in fact, the I have a rosary I got from my godmother who kept my mother alive and somewhat sane in that place in the orphanage, and it was so I could show it. Sorry, um, and it's kept me.
Protected.
Yes, I have a Celtic cross too, but it was my mother's gift to me and my godmother's gift to my mother, Sister Mary Assumption, and her was her name. And I stress this because my mother was not one to. She tried to give me the latitude to pursue things that were healthy, as long as it didn't go against her principles as a lover of Christ and as a Catholic. So you can imagine her reaction and my reaction when she shared the story, because it was years after it happened. She waited till she was coming out of hospital surgery to share the story with me. And I went down to visit her because she said, I want you to come down to something very serious to tell you. And I immediately was concerned. And before reading my thoughts, she said, no, there's nothing wrong. The surgery went fine. I'm okay. Just come down. So I went down there and she said, this is something that happened. And for once, I want you not to talk, just listen. And I was looking around the room at the medicine vials. She said, no, everything is fine. I'm not high in anything. Just listen. I was coming back from lunch one day to work at a law firm that she had been working for years, run by a father and son team, as it were. And she stepped off the bus into an Irish village. One minute she's looking at concrete buildings. She stepped into a world with full of thatched huts and Irish peasants. Only there was nobody there except this little tiny woman. I can imagine what your people are thinking right now, but this is my mother telling me this, right? And I'm at this point in my early 40s, and my mom, was about, she had me at the age of 29, so you get an idea how where she was at. And very lucid, very smart, bright woman, and not given to foolishness and foolish endeavors. And she said, I this little tiny woman couldn't have been 4 foot and a half tall, came up to me and started to jabber away in Gaelic. And my mother, um, at the orphanage, they weren't allowed to speak any other language but English. So the Irish language was called Gaelic, was discouraged. Although most of the nuns at that time were part of the Irish. The Irish came here in hordes in the 1800s to get away from. They were colonized by the English, so they were slaves in their own country, as quiet as kept. So, but they were forced to learn English when they got here and discouraged to keep their own language that was kept alive within the culture to some extent. So my mother didn't understand the words that this woman was saying, but she only picked up a few of them because she did not practice the language as a girl. Now, my mom at this point, as I said, when this happened, my mother would have been in her late 40s, early 50s, something like that. And with this experience, not when she was telling me the story, but she experienced it. So this woman gives her this kind of blessing in the Gaelic language. It takes my mom by the hand and leads her through this village, jabbering away at 100 miles an hour. And my mom said, I just was killing myself for not practicing the language because I could have learned so much. And as she was going from hut to hut, and she saw this um, stone like a statue, but she wasn't able to describe too much of the detail to me at all. Only that she knew it was something important. And this is a pre-Christian era kind of uh, vibe. Although the way she described it to me would have been past the point where the Irish had become Christians, but it was druidic in its implications, as it were. You know the mythology of those people, and how Judaism was something that the Celtic people in the British Isles and in the continent, what they call the Gauls, um, which made up an area that comprises today of France, Belgium, Holland, Luxembourg. They were called Gauls, and they were different tribes of the Celtic-speaking people that differentiated from the Germanic, which was the other non-Roman entities at that time in the world. So this woman's jabbering away in Gaelic as she's taking my mom from hut to hut, and eventually, after a very short journey, what my mom thought was about 10 minutes, she took her back to the spot that she met her in and did this kind of gesture, like what my mom interpreted as a blessing, and then everything disappeared. Like you turn a switch and she's looking at concrete buildings again. And then she hears the bus pull off. And what she thought was like 10 minutes was like 10 seconds. You know? Now, this is my mom telling. I said, I just looked at her like, you got to be kidding me. And that's my mother. So I said, why in the world did you not tell me this before with my pursuit of things that were spiritual, but not necessarily part of the traditional Christian Judaic way of looking at the world? Why? She just snapped, and she said, "Because I wanted to be a good Irish Catholic boy, and not chase all this woo-woo stuff." And I was like, "How could you refer to it such a flippant way?" But he had such a profound, and she got very flustered, got red in the face, and she said, I just knew I had to share it with you." And that's all. That's all I want to say about it. Now that happened,
Yeah,
Uh, yeah,
I've seen things like that, brother. Things that's unusual. Where I mean, but that would be for another time. Well, I don't know. So many situations I've been in where it looks so surreal, where things come across your path that are not actually from here; they're from a different realm,
or another time.
and or yeah, or another time, or possibly they're there, but they're there as in spirit form, but they're able to see you and they come to you to make contact with you, but they talk to you in code. They don't with a
Well,
smile on their face, but in code. Next thing
what
you know, they could be right beside you. Then they're not there no more, but then they're in a distance, but they
what
can
these
because they
what
can
these
travel.
sorry.
I've witnessed something like this down back home. I was I lost my mother when I was 15 years old
Oh,
to
I'm
domestic
sorry.
violence. So I was kind of sad. I was driving. I had a Ford LTD,
Wow.
and I was driving it around. It was a four door, and I was going on this. There was like this one in a back road in a small town where I live, and I got on this. Just you could see the tracks of where a vehicle could drive on there. So it's like a berm, right? Like it's just like a little hill, but it's a long hill. Like it just goes. You can drive on it, and you can see everything below it because as you go further, you're going to run into a canal. It's like a canal, right? So so I'm driving on this hill and I I see something up ahead in the middle of the path, which means like it looks like somebody burned something. So at this time, I'm only like see like 16, 17. So I get off the vehicle. This before I joined the military, and I go off to where this pile of things where somebody was trying to burn trash. I wanted to see what it was that was there. So when I go there to the location and I'm looking, everything that's in there that was burnt belonged to us, to my household.
Wow.
There's pictures of us, of my brothers and sisters. There was belongings of us that somebody grabbed, and I guess they might have performed some kind of ritual. So while I'm looking at this, in the distance, there's a field. In the very edge of the field, I could see people that they're cultivating the field. They got,
Yeah.
I guess, holes and they're cultivating the field. But
Right.
it's that's in a distance. I say whew, like 1,000 yards, maybe. I mean, like a lot of football fields, but they're in a distance and they look small because they're
Yeah. Far
way
away.
across the field, right? So as I'm looking at them, and I turn around and I keep on looking at the things that are there. I'm not touching nothing because I don't know what happened there. So I'm just looking and trying to figure out things. Next thing you know, I hear somebody right beside me, and I look, and it was a guy, and he had a smile, and he had the hole in his hand, and he's like, he's got a smile on his face, and he said, "What are you doing here?" And he's got a smile on his face, and I'm looking at him, and there's no way this guy that was way over there, because it was got here that fast. No way, not in 3 seconds, no way. So I'm looking at him, and I just look at him, and the way he's acting, it's like you could tell he's not. I said spiritually, all my senses are just triggered. So no, I'm just came to see what's happening here. There's a lot of things there, and he just got a smile on his face. So I walk away from that area, get in the vehicle. Then he starts walking back, and but the where he was at is way over there. So it's like I feel like whatever that was, it was just a manifestation that he took, but he wasn't with those people that was over there. I believe what that was whatever they burn or if they did some kind of incantation or something. That's what came out of there,
Wow.
out of that ritual
Interesting.
was the manifestation. So
Mm.
yes, I've seen a lot of things out of the ordinary that I really haven't said all the things that I've witnessed, but that's part of the
Yeah. Me
balance.
neither.
Spiritual warfare,
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah. We live in an amazing world of wonder, and more so now, I think, than certainly when I was young. And yeah, I was lucky that my mother, despite that we didn't have any money, we didn't live in. we lived in some tough neighborhoods, but there was one place in particular that was very idyllic. I felt very protected, and you know, my mom was like most moms, a miracle worker, a saint. I don't know how they do it, but I felt a sense of protection that I took for granted because I didn't know any different when I was young, and I think part of it was my mother's faith. Uh, I really do. But the world felt a lot more innocent, than it did in today's world. And maybe some of it, of course, is I'm just more jaded, and scarred by the things that I've survived. Um, it's like we're like running a gauntlet. Remember the gauntlet that the Indians would make. And I apologize for those who would rather have me say Native American. I sometimes I noticed when I was in the res, a lot of my friends would refer to each other as Indians rather than Native Americans. White folks around you, you better be correct. But I don't want to wish to insult anyone. I wouldn't do that for the world. Um, but the world that we live in is certainly much different when uh, more innocent would be the way I would describe the world that I grew up in. This world of black ops and the kind of stuff that happened since 9/11. uh, and I don't even want to address that, but I certainly support all the troops that anyone ever served. I did 4 years ROTC, which is nothing uh, compared to active combat, to say nothing to being in the army itself, but I certainly respect all those who served, and thank you again for your service.
Thank
uh,
you, brother. You're welcome.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Yep. There's
Well, we
no.
had a pretty good show here tonight, brother.
I'm glad that it was so. Yeah. Whatever they see, whenever two or more are gathered in my name, right? There I am in the midst of them. You speak about the light and try. We talk about darkness too, but we have to in the world that we live in.
Yeah,
Um,
people have to understand. That's why I created this, and I call it spiritual and cryptid. But it's more
Platform, yeah.
spiritual. I see
It's a
things a
good
lot
way. It's a
spiritual,
good way to
a
describe
lot
it.
more spiritual than something that might be in the flesh. Because of what I encountered throughout my life, I've been able to know, right? What it's more spiritual than anything. There's the people believe that they're real. I'm just saying that it's to me what I went as an experience. It's more spiritual. No, especially I always tell the people that tell me, well, what do I do? There's people that say, well, I'll get my 357 and shoot it. I'll do this. I'll do that. I said, how about just do something simple, like put it to the spiritual test? They're like, what do you mean? I said, well, when you see a dog run over Bigfoot, say I type on the rebuke in Jesus Christ's name and see what happens.
Right.
But you have to do it, say it in true faith and true belief in Jesus Christ. Because if you're not saying it in true faith and believe in Jesus Christ, then whatever that is, if it's spiritual, it's going to attack you. So it's going to attack you spiritually. Uh, but yeah, you put the spirit to the test. The times that I've said it to what seemed to be a dog man or lycanthrope, shapeshifter skinwalker, it's manifested to look like a Bigfoot, uptight body rebuking in Jesus Christ's name, and they disappear. And it smells like sulfur, or sometimes like pestilence, like sewer.
Do
It's
you
nasty,
do you
nasty
do you
smell that
remember?
it leaves behind.
Pardon me, Abe. Sorry, I'm interrupting my excitement. I forget my manners. Sometimes I don't mean to be rude.
No, that's fine, brother.
Um, do you remember the movie Fright Night?
Yeah, I remember Friday night.
Do you remember when the guy, when I think the character played by Ronnie McDowell, he's got that spooky show, and he goes up the stairs at the very end of the movie with the crucifix. And do you remember when the vampire grabs it and it crumbles, it bursts into flame, it crumbles, and he looks at him and he says, "You have to have faith for that to work on me."
Yeah,
And I think, and thank you, Exuberance and everybody here for their contribution and acknowledgement. Uh, I'm, I'm grateful um, to share. But yeah, I think it's you cannot emphasize the importance of faith. And earlier in the night, when I was sharing, I said something I really believe in, that the Creator and Jesus, all the great saints, they don't care about our mistakes. They know we're human. It's our difference that becomes a problem. I think if we just can remember to not that I'm in a position to counsel anyone as flawed as I am, but the spiritual bookends of your day, your morning and evening prayers, and praying for others. Our biggest enemy, of course, is always ourself, our
Yep.
ego, the concept of, so we get outside ourselves, I guess, by praying for others to begin with and doing for others, which what Meredith was telling me when she said, don't get caught up in phenomena. I told you I would do this to open the door for you, but this in itself is not the way to go. And that resonates to this day very profoundly with me. Yeah, what a world. When I was telling my girlfriend about Dogman, she looked at me like the R.C. Victor dog with the photograph. Like, what? I said, no, I mean, because she still thinks that, she still lives in a Disneyland kind of world. God bless her for it. I don't want to,
Yeah, there's a.
I don't
I've
want to
been.
bring anything to anyone's door that makes them unsettled. I have a friend who walks 6 miles a day in Western Maryland in an area where there's a lot of dog men, and where I just saw an account at Harper's Ferry, which is like just a few miles from where my buddy lived. And I know this guy since I was 15 years old. And he's a very bright, intellectual cat. He's an old hippie, and he's got a lot of soul. He's not just an egghead academic. He's just a soulful cat. But I was surprised, as well as he knows me, that he would, because when I sent him some links to some of these shows, and he said I have to, experience or see a lot more before I. And I said, well, man, I don't want you to be afraid to go on your walk or go into the woods. I don't want to do that, be that architect of that for anybody. Nor do I want people, whether I know them and care about them, or strangers, to go to places where things can jump off when they're not remotely prepared, at any level. So I think, it's if nothing else, to gather together at a night like this, it's reinforced that we need to be conscious spiritually, from the minute we wake up, and you don't have to wear it like an affliction in the course of your day, but just without making a show of it, just go about your life in a very as spiritual manner as you can. And not that I'm the best example, but what's that old saying? Don't do as I do, do as I say. Uh, anyway, I'm going to sign off. It's been
All right, brother.
an honor and a
Thank
privilege.
you.
Thank you very much, y'all. And
Anytime, man, you wanna jump on, man, let me know.
thank you.
Uh,
I will.
Thank
You and
you
I will talk.
for sharing your stories and your
Thank you.
experiences of
Thank
life
you. It was a
to the
pleasure and
viewers.
an honor. And peace and numerous blessings to everyone out there. I hope that you are guided, and protected, and just love each other, man. That's all we
Amen.
Okay, thanks. Good night, everyone. And Abe, I'll talk to you probably tomorrow, or maybe I'll reach out to you. Good night, everyone.
All right,
Thank you
brother.
again.
There you go, folks. Brother, yeah, we were speaking last night, late at night, like around 3 in the morning, and I told him whenever he wanted to come to the show, that he was more than welcome, just to let me know. He contacted me earlier that he'll be like an hour into the show that he'll come on. So he came on just in time. We went out for 2 hours and 30 minutes, and I didn't even get to show y'all the footage that I wanted to show y'all. So yeah, I'm thinking I'm gonna save that footage either for tomorrow or Friday, because I got a short reel. I haven't even created it yet, because I was gonna save it for the show, but I gave him the platform to speak. Uh, but I got what seems to be a lycanthrope or werewolf, or because the form it has. and you can see the ears and everything. But I'm thinking I'm going to share that show reel. Gives me more time to work on it. Uh, and I haven't really debunked the whole video of when I went out to the woods. The only thing I know is there's been a lot of activity outside. These birds that were chirping out there in the woods when I went to go investigate, they've been outside my home all night, just chirping and chirping and chirping. Uh, but yes, I do have the footage. Uh, I don't want to give no sneak peeks for it yet. I'm gonna work on debunking the whole video. Let me see what we got here. But one of the weirdest things that happened in this video is the shift where there was like a gap in time or a lost time right off the bat when before I even started the video. Let me see if I can find it for y'all, brothers and sisters. This is just an example of what happened at the beginning of the video before I even went into the woods. Let me share it with y'all real quick. This is one of the ones. The first, not even as soon as I started recording, this is what happened. I guess I can put. So you know, well, it's not gonna say it because I got the my volume, but you can see a shift, like a time, the ground move, the my surroundings move, and you see something up here. Let me see if I can pause it. See, it's like warped here, something here, like like a shift in time. Boom, and then it's gone. Look at the ground, how it moves, and the tree, how it moves, the street, how it moves. I just wanted to share that real quick before I go. But in saying that, um, I do have a footage, and I'm gonna hopefully share it either tomorrow or Friday. I'm gonna try to debunk, but every time I do an investigation, sometimes I'm real tired that I sleep all day because it drains energy out of you, especially when you make spiritual contact with things that are out there. But I know for sure that something was following me that day. If y'all haven't seen that video, I have the video posted up on YouTube right now where I'm out there investigating in the woods. You should check it out. Maybe if you can see it, maybe y'all see something that's in the picture. One of the things that I captured right off the bat too is a picture of something. Let me find that picture and I can share it with y'all. Which I shared this yesterday. Okay, here it is. Here's a picture of what of that video. One of the pictures from that video, which is right here. This is my shadow. Oh, there's definitely something right here in this area. It's pretty huge. Got a close up of it. Pretty massive. Uh, Pretty massive. Pretty tall. It's got to be like 12 foot tall. It's tall, or maybe taller than that. I don't know. Pretty tall. But that's just in the entrance. This is the path that I walk into the wood line. Uh, I just followed this path, but it was right there on the edge. There you go. Look at that. Let me go to the comments, see if anybody is saying that. Yeah, it's pretty a big anomaly. But in saying that, what I'm going to do, brother and sisters, since I've been going on for almost 2 hours and 45 minutes, um, share. I'm going to share most likely either Thursday or Friday that other footage that I got. I wanted to create a short reel out of it, but I want to see what y'all think about it before I create it. Make it into a short reel. I want to see what y'all think about it. To give me uh, what you think about the short reel that I'm gonna show y'all. But in saying that, I want to call it a night, brothers and sisters. Thank you for the moderators, the moderator tonight, and for all the people that came in and viewed and participated in conversation. Yeah, that was. I took a screenshot off the image. It was not a picture. It was just a screenshot from the video. Um, yeah, it was. I took a screenshot of the video, and some of the short reels. What I'll do is I'll go to when I see movement, and I'll do a short reel out of it, so you can see the movement. Kind of like the one with a big owl that I got here. Let me show you that one before we go. Um, it's kind of like this one. We just freaked out. What happened to the? Let me see. Okay, I think I stopped sharing. It's kind of like this one with the show reel that I created of the what seems to be a big owl. There you go. I don't know if this one captures. Yeah, this is just a picture that I created out of it, but then I got a show reel that I have of it where it's moving. See if I can get to that show reel. Uh, yeah, that's not showing me the show reel of the movement for some reason. Let me see if I can find where it's turning its head. Let me search for it. There it is. I'm fixing to share it with y'all real quick. Here's the one where it's turning its head. There you go. It turns its head all the way from the left to the right, all the way to the right. Those are the kind of things that I capture on my show reels when I go in and investigate, you know, things of the balance, following my spiritual senses. In saying that, is like looking one way, and then it turns its head all the way. It's like goes from one side, and it's like this, and it turns its head all the way around like this. It turns its head all the way around, like from one side to the other. But in saying that, thank you all for those that tuned in. Thank you for hitting the like button, and if those are new here, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate y'all. In saying that, everybody have a beautiful, blessed evening, morning. This is Brother Abe. See us calling in the night here in Spiritual Encrypted Encounters. Sir, see us signing off. Everybody have sweet dreams.